Hello! We just popped in out of nowhere. Look at that.
Huzzah! Oh,
Oh,
my camera's
Chris,
too...
I need to fix your camera.
Yeah, I look
Or
awful.
you need to fix it.
I look awful. You look weird. You look... What's the lighting? You got red lighting and it's a different angle?
Well, I've got the angle at my computer. I'm at my workstation now where I edit. You can see the game set up behind me. But I do have a red light, which is coloring the room somewhat.
Exciting. We both have weird angles as well.
Hey, Eddie and Dark Mind are here. I
Dark
don't know
Mind.
why it's not here on the screen.
Make the chat
It's just...
appear. Who's got the weirdest angle? I think my angle's slightly worse. I can't... until I get an actual camera, I can actually attach to my monitor, I have to like use my phone and put it off to the side. So
Well, I've got a tripod set up behind the monitor for sort of height purposes. Ah,
Demon Mike.
Demon Mike and Angel Chris. Yeah, it does look a bit like that. Where's chat gone? I don't understand why chat's not appearing.
Welcome to Race Day Play, where we fix technical issues live. We should actually just rebrand this channel as like tech support.
Tech support for your live stream.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
But this is an Essen preview video because the law dictates that we must do an Essen preview video, no matter how poorly researched it is. Just kidding. Demon Mike likes Dead of Winter, and Angel Chris is more Ticket to Ride guy. Is that? I was trying to think. Is there a clue in the background to Ticket to Ride? Oh, I see. Dead of Winter is right there for Mike. Oh, it's because of the.
It's because our faces are next to the games.
I was looking in my frame. I like both those games.
Yep,
Ticket to Ride is a game I'm kind of over because I've played it so much, especially in the early days of my hobby. But I am excited about the what's it called, the Legacy version of it that's coming.
Yeah, I'm quite hyped for that too, actually. I definitely want to know a bit more about it. But that could be really good fun.
That's not an Essen release, as far as I know, because that did not show up in my research for Essen.
No, I feel like we would know more if it was an Essen release. But also, it's the problem is Ticket to Ride really wants 3 or more players, and just getting those people to commit to a Legacy game, if they haven't sort of adapted it for 2, is going to be just tough to get to the table.
Yeah, I mean, Pandemic Legacy worked very well with 2.
Yeah, it was great with 2.
But I don't know if, Ticket to Ride, definitely a different story. I've never played the Clank Legacy because I don't have 3 people who I can regularly, trust to come not trust, that's a weird word to use.
Rely on. They're available enough.
Yeah, available enough. Hey Difter, welcome.
Oh, everyone's in chat and there's no chat and I can't fix it. I don't know what's wrong with it. I'm very upset. Because I wanted all of you to be able to be here with us looking at the
for the mandatory Essen preview video, where so I was saying I don't think I'm emotionally nor mentally prepared for Essen. It's weird. It always sneaks up, but it snuck up even more so this year, I feel. Where it's kind of weird to think simply in a week's time we're going to be there in the thick of it.
Yeah,
that's
100%.
Actually quite distressing in a night, distressing in a good way, I guess. Because it's such an intense week of 5 hours sleep a night, straight into cerebral demoing at 9 a.m. every morning. It's always very enjoyable but very difficult. So it's weird to think that I'm going to be there in a week's time, and I realized I hadn't really looked into any of the games coming up. So I did that over the last few days, and it's it looks good this year. There's actually a lot I'm excited about, so much so that I had a really hard time narrowing down this list, and I'm not happy with the list. So that's kind of a caveat, that there's a lot that could be on. Oh, what are you doing?
I'm trying to get the chat up.
There's a lot. There are a lot of games that could be on my list of 5. So slight caveat that my top 5 most anticipated games are not my top necessarily going my top 5 most anticipated games. They are the top 5 that I managed to put together in this limited time frame.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting for me as well because I've got some review copies ahead of time, so they're sort of honorable mentions, I guess, that are not. And there's quite a lot of games that have just kind of come out at retail. So there's one game on my list, which I was quite hyped to get a review copy of at Essen, and I realized it's just available in stores now. And I think it came out in August, or maybe even September. So that's really kind of interesting. How, and what I was going to say was like, especially with the move towards crowdfunding and Kickstarters, it seems like the sort of the Essen release has become really focused on sort of like people getting some early copies of their denser Euros out, or the retail stock of their Kickstarter being sort of made available at the convention. So it's kind of interesting how that's happened. But I too have I've not got a list of my top 5 because I was sort of reading through all the rule books and stuff like that and putting some information together, which I'll share with you guys, of course. But there's only 1 or 2 that have really struck me, and it's hard to tell, right? Because I keep thinking back to Bitoku, which was 2 years ago, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Where why is this YouTube guidelines thing blocking the chat box? It's so annoying. Anyway, the Bitoku, I keep thinking back to Bitoku specifically because if I'd read the rule book for that in advance, I'd be like, this seems like heavy and nonsense and familiar mechanisms, and I wouldn't be that hyped for it. But then we got to play it at the convention, and it's just, I really, really like it. There's just sort of, it's not unfamiliar mechanisms. There's nothing in the rule book. There's no like sort of twist to the rules that would get me hyped to try it. But at the same time, it just does what it does really well. It drills down a lot of dense decision making into like one thing you do on your turn, and the timing considerations are really tight, and it just made it a really sort of solid game for me. And I do have a comment about the art in that as well. Remind me later when we get to one of the games. But it's just like I said, reading the rule books can sometimes be a little bit of a trap because sometimes a great game just reads like it's going to be unremarkable.
Like I said to Mike off camera, this is all about the hype train. Just what the box looks like. I've based this on nothing but the box. That's not true. One of the games on my list would definitely not be here if it was solely on the box. Do you want to do... So I've got some special mentions as well. Do you want to do those first or second? Do you want to just get those out of the way, or do you want to just crack straight into the list?
I think we should prioritize the list in case we run out of time.
That makes sense. All right. Do you want to get cracking then?
Yeah, let me jump over here to this screen and then just add chat to it. So I've just got a BGG here.
Shall I post the links into chat for everybody at home and also for your convenience?
Yeah, if they'd like to follow along, that'd be great.
All right. So the first game on my list is definitely an unusual pick in some ways. In many ways, in fact. I'll let Mike bring it up there.
Yeah, hold tight while I just sort my life out.
Oh no, everyone else is going to know what it is now, and Mike won't have gone to it.
Actually, I can't actually see the whole link from here.
Just click on it, wouldn't that not work? Everyone at home knows what it is now. Tipperary. Build an Irish county piece by piece. So this is one that it's kind of made the list for RSP Law Strikes once more. Hey Haggers. This is a game that's made the list for a few reasons. One is my appreciation of including me in its theme. Tipperary is actually where I come from. So there's a link there. Something I've definitely commented on before is Ireland is often forgotten in board games, in board game depiction. So I don't know if you've ever think, for example, Ticket to Ride is a good example. In Ticket to Ride, you got London, Edinburgh, and Ireland is there, but there's nothing. There's a blob that represents the island of Ireland, but there's nothing. There's no trains. There's no interaction with it. And when Ireland is included, like when Dublin is included or something, for example, it's usually under the umbrella of the United Kingdom, which is politically incorrect, and frustrating for an Irishman. So I therefore I always appreciate when there's a little bit of representation. Representation matters, people. And this isn't just Ireland, but it's actually my county, which is famous for nothing apart from being far away from everything, due to a song from a musical popularized by the soldiers of World War One. But it isn't purely selfish bravado that put this on my list. The other reason is a tile laying game. And for regular viewers might be aware that my partner loves tile laying games. So tile laying games are often a cheat code for me to be able to get a game to the table more often than I might otherwise be able to.
So this looks like a prototype image, and I should also credit Meeple Queen, whose image I'm using.
Yes, I have seen final production, or near final production, but yes, that's definitely very, very much prototype. But yeah, so basically, it's basically the one thing about this game that strikes me as very strange and possibly a little bit too casual for me is that if you bring back up that image that had the wheel in it.
I'm just looking to see if I can find a final production image without scrolling through everyone's photos and thus not crediting a bunch of photographers. This is from Medicine. Sorry if I've mispronounced your name. Here we go.
And I should say that this designer is Gunther Burkhardt. Artists are Ari Oliver and Clemens Franz, and it's by Lookout Games, a well-known publisher.
Yep, well-known German publisher, and of course Clemens Franz, well-known for all of Uwe's stuff.
So the one thing that seems weird about this game is that basically every turn you're going to get a random choice between two tiles. There is a wheel, which you might have seen in one of the previous images, which you basically spin around. And so if you look in the right hand side there, Tipperdown, which is actually the Irish for Tipperary, so that's Tipperary town. That's the yellow player's player board, starting player board. So this is the yellow player's tile placement. That is a good point, Difter. Thank you very much. It is basically every turn the wheel is spun, and depending on where your coat of arms lands, you're going to get the option between those two tiles. So there's no drafting for tiles. There's no competing for tiles. From what I could tell from the rules, it is just kind of you get a choice, a limited choice, and you basically make the best. You attempt to make the best of what you're given. There's lots of different ways of scoring. You're trying to make herds of sheep. The large herd of sheep scores points, and then also you got little sheep meeples, so you can kind of connect different herds. You're trying to get fields next to breweries to produce alcohol. You're trying to get line the ruins over there in the brown tiles. You want to get lines of ruins so that you get towers, because then the towers can fill in empty spaces because you get points for your biggest rectangle. And then you've got the whiskey barrel there, which you're trying to move along based on, I can't remember which one, but one of the other tile pieces moves your whiskey barrel along, which gets you points and sheep as you go along the game. And it's basically just, it's kind of a classic tile laying game where there's every type of tile, every type of space is potential points. It's mostly the fact that it's tile laying game and the fact that I like the theme that puts it on the radar for me. As I said, the one thing that does concern me is I'm not entirely sure how competitive it actually is going to be.
Yeah, I mean, I really like the little cardboard castle. That's awesome. The art it's nice. It just looks very pleasant, the whole thing. But yeah, so are you all building the same area?
No, you have your own individual area.
Okay, so it's more like sort of a personalized scoring puzzle solving thing.
Yeah, it seems to be. There seems to be no player interaction, from what I could tell, which, as I said, is a little disappointing. So it seems to be well, I say it's disappointing. Obviously, some people, it's one of the hallmarks of Euro games often, isn't it? That it's kind of essentially a solo, a solo competitive multiplayer solo stuff games going on.
Here's a photo from @Ladybug showing the wheel Chris is talking about. Oh, it's too big. Here we go.
So as you see, there's 2 tiles in each segment. You spin it round, and whichever section your coat of arms lands next to, you pick one of those 2 tiles.
Mm-hmm. This reminds me of a much cheaper, simplified version of the Lazy Susan from Planet Unknown, which is a very similar kind of mechanism, but instead of having player sections, what happens is, I'm trying to remember because there's a variant for 2 players, which I think I played more than the actual rules of the game. I think the way it works is that in the proper game of Planet Unknown, everyone has a player token. Just like, actually, do you know what? It's exactly like this, but inverted. So all the pieces are on the Lazy Susan in the middle, and everyone puts their player token, which is like the coat of arms, on the outside, and then the player whose turn it is gets to pick the 2 tiles they're choosing from, and this rotates the Lazy Susan, so then everyone else is forced to pick a section that they land on.
Mm-hmm.
So rather than being randomized. But
so I'm not.
Yeah.
I think they're. So I couldn't find a rule book for this. So I got everything from a few videos that I watched. So it is possible there's something. I'm hoping there's some that the tile you don't take potentially goes to your opponent or something. I'm not sure. That's pure speculation on my part. I'm hoping there's something else going on with the tile selection rather than purely being you get a random choice of you get a random binary choice and then you try and make the best of the binary choice you're given, because that doesn't seem particularly interesting. But to the point that I feel there must be something else going on that I haven't seen yet, and I hope so.
It does say family weight. Let's have a quick look and see what the actual number is.
There are solo rules available on BGG, but well, sorry, not solo rules, a solo variant, but not the actual rulebook, unfortunately.
Yeah, so it's a 2.0, and it does say family game, so it's pretty light.
Yeah. But again, that helps me get to the table. So
no, I mean that's just an observation. So I don't know, like, yeah, hopefully there's maybe something going on with the extra tile, or
I think there must be, but I could be wrong. Because I know because in the solo version, there is something going on with the tile you don't take, and that's kind of what led me to believe that there might be. That hopefully there is in the.
That's so funny. Just the solo variant. Why is it like that? Is there a rule book on Lookout Spiel's website?
Oh, I didn't look on their website. Maybe.
We have to be careful because what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide into board games research because I do enjoy it, and then we're not going to have time to cover all of our stuff. So I'll have a quick look to see if there's a rulebook here. There is.
Oh my god, look at that. This is why Mike's the pro, because he managed to find what I couldn't in 8 seconds.
So there's some kind of river track.
Yeah, that's just the round track. I mean, I know 80% of the rules. The thing I really need to know is return the other one to the area you took it from. Okay, so you are leaving it there for next round, for future rounds. There is some denial going on, but it's quite light denial, because if I don't take it, there's still a chance you won't get the option to take it next round. Or the person who wants it. Right?
Yeah, you spin the wheel. When the wheel stops spinning, make sure that each one clearly points to something.
So it's just it's just that the one I don't take is available for another player later. That's all it is.
Yeah, it's just not reseeded, I guess.
Yeah. Which I guess does have a slight element of denial. So you could take something that somebody really wanted, but the problem is that they won't necessarily get the chance anyway. But I guess that's an element of risk. You could leave something that you could take something that you kind of want and leave something that your opponent really wants, hoping they won't get the chance to take it before you'll get a chance to steal it again. So yeah, it's light. It's very light. There's just the player interaction is a very mild version of potential hate drafting and competing over pieces.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see how much sort of scope there is for none of the pieces I want, or rather, I don't really want either of these two pieces. So I'm just going to look at other people's boards and take the one they want. I'd be interested in how much scope there is for that. Also, but it looks like basically everything's going to be useful to you anyway. It doesn't look like you're specializing.
Yeah, no, you're not. I think you'll probably there's definitely room to do a bit of everything. And you could specialize, I suppose. But yeah, it just looks like a light, pleasant tile laying game with a theme that I appreciate, and that obviously has some sort of special significance to me. I mean, one of the town player boards is the town which my father was the principal of the secondary school of. Well, it's weird. They seem to all be really small towns. Like they haven't got the major Tipperary towns aren't there, apart from Tipperary town itself. But then they have like towns like Rosscray, which is really small. So it's kind of odd. But yeah, so that's kind of. I thought also that would kind of be a little bit of a left field one. I thought not a lot of people would have seen it. So that's the first one.
Nice. Well, that's a good start, Chris. I'm pleased.
Because you didn't know it existed.
I didn't know it existed, and it looks very nice. And I'll happily play it with you.
And it's by a major publisher, so that also surprised me because it was such a random.
Yep.
Sweet. So moving right along, do you want me to just keep linking these, or is that not helpful?
Yep. No, let's go with the links. I think it is useful.
Moving right. This is the next one, isn't it? Let me actually check the order. I mean, the order. To be honest, the order's a bit relative. It's somewhat meaningless. But right. Next one is printing press.
Now this I know a little bit about. Not really. I know I've played Gutenberg.
Yes, this is nothing like that from what I understand.
Okay.
Oh, great. Thanks, Sifter. Much appreciated. So, printing press, which is not an expansion to Gutenberg, which I don't know if you remember, we actually saw the box of this at UKG, and he very proudly showed us that if you read the letters, if you read the what are they actually called? The
yes,
printing.
It's actually on the box, isn't it?
Yeah.
It says not an expansion backwards.
So that little joke plus the cat on the box is enough to get this on the list. But the interesting thing about this game is it is simply it's actually I guess technically it's sort of tile laying again in a way. It's you're drafting you draft a frame. Is that what it's called? The frame which is going to if you're printing, which is going to have
There's
objectives.
A photo from at Razkozian.
Oh yeah, so look at those silver. Hang on, so see the silver frames. I don't know what the printing term is, but the silver frames there, or the grey frames. So you're going to draft
it's
a
very
pair.
large now.
Sorry.
I've made it very large. This is too big. But yes, crack on.
So you draft these a pair of the frames which has objectives and also the scraps of paper up above it which have objectives, and then so if you look in the center screen there, we have a UUA, and if you get the UUA you'll get 3 points. And if you get an A in the top left corner there, you'll get 3 points as well, I think it looks like. Whereas on the frame here below it, you have, I mean, I'm colorblind, but it looks like if you get gray ink in the middle column and red ink in the bottom row, you'll get 5 points. And then the next one is, you get an ink bottle symbol.
Mm-hmm.
And
a letter.
And a particular letter, presumably that means anywhere in the entire thing, I'm not sure. It's 4 points. And if you get both those objectives, then you'll get 2 points. And then the bottom of those frames also have like bonuses associated with them as well. So basically you're just drafting a combination of various objectives. Then you're going to be drafting tiles with letters and symbols and ink colors on them, and you're going to be, but the interesting part then comes in you can't rotate them, so you can't like make the A upside down or anything like that. They do have fixed orientations. but you can overlay them. You can make your grid can be wildly. It doesn't have to be 3 by 3. It can be completely wild. But then when it comes to scoring, you lock in by putting the silver frame over a 3 by 3 grid, or is it a 3 by 4 grid, whichever it may be. So you could have a very, very untidy shape of pieces going all over the place, because as more tiles became available, you changed what you were changing what you were trying to achieve. But then at the end of the round, when it comes to scoring, you put your silver frame over the actual specific grid you now want and lock that in. So it means that you can adapt your strategy on the fly quite a lot. You've got a lot more freedom, but than most tile laying games, because of the ability to overlay, and as I said, the ability to kind of go to make completely irregular shapes, and basically you can color outside the lines and then put the lines down afterwards. That's kind of the way I'd describe it, which gives you a lot of freedom, and I really like that idea. And I also like the thematic concept behind the placing the frame is like the final print. I think that's quite a nice little.
Yeah, that's a nice touch.
Yeah.
I was just looking up whether this is the same designers as Gutenberg. It's not. I've played Gutenberg. Gutenberg's. It looks more. This looks lighter than Gutenberg in terms of sort of the overall volume of mechanisms. But I'll tell you the one thing that they seem to have sort of kept across the two games, other than the iconography, which is very similar, is this concept of building a contract. So you've sort of got a contract that's two parts that you combine. So in this case, it's the parchment and the frame that come together to sort of make the objectives you're trying to fulfill with this puzzle. But in Gutenberg, then it's about managing resources and worker placement and all this kind of stuff. Whereas here, it's the spatial puzzle, which is nice. I really like the look of this. This looks cool.
So it's played in 3 rounds. There's actually asynchronous player powers as well. So in the picture there, you can see. I can't read his name very well. Someone Hoxton or Toxton. He seems to get +1.
We can just zoom in on this, can't we? He's
But
sideways, though.
The important thing is there are asynchronous player powers anyway.
William Coxton.
Coxton, there you go.
And he gets an extra cube from somewhere.
Yes, I'm not even sure those cubes are actually, to be honest. Or do these get an extra action? Because the cubes seem to be actions, don't they? If you look at the center player board, the center round board. That's just to the left of Hox.
I think, if I remember correctly, in Gutenberg, I think the cubes were your actions that you could take. You spent them to do things.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe he just gets an extra
Maybe
one.
he just gets an extra choice, yeah. Because basically it's 3 rounds. You do 3 contracts, basically. And as you can see, if you zoom out a little bit there for me, please. As you can see, basically the first thing you do is you take your frame. I think that's the first thing each round is taking the basically creating the contracts, and then you draft 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5
dominoes.
Dominoes, yeah, and then the 6th one, maybe that's one you can potentially unlock. I think maybe.
I think that's lock in the frame, right, and then it's score it.
No. I mean, no. Look, there's 5 domino pieces with a cube next to it, and there's a 6th domino piece. I'm pointing to the screen as if you can see that.
Yes, I see what you mean. There's one space, domino space, that doesn't have a cubie on it. So.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if that's for example, that's the one that Coxton gets, and maybe other people can potentially get it as well. I don't know. And then then you lock it in, and then you score, and then you do it all again twice more, and that's the end of the game. This
is probably pick up your cubies. Yeah, no, this looks nice. I'd definitely be keen to check this out. I have become quite. I don't know the first designer on this. Let's have a quick look and see who that is. I know Lukasz Wozniak.
Yes, it's Lukasz Wozniak, and it's Przemek. I mean, obviously, pronunciation of these names we have to apologize in advance. But Przemek Wojciechowski.
Yep.
And art by Raphael Slapa.
So we've got here the designer of Chronicles of Avil, Traintopia, Rescue Animals, and I guess that's the sort of the highlights.
Oh,
I
it's
played
Luke.
both.
Oh, Lucas is the guy who did Titans. I remember Lucas.
Yeah. So, Chronicles of Avil, I really like. It's a really fun, cooperative, family-weight adventure game. It's really cute and it's really nice. Traintopia, I thought was aggressively unremarkable, and has since completely disappeared off the face of the planet. It's like a drafting game where you're drafting tiles and then placing them into your own tableau that you're building with train lines and things on it.
Yeah.
But it was just really, really average, and the art was fine. Lukash, we played Titans at Essen 2020 or no 19 or 18. 19 or 18.
18, I think. It was a long time ago, yeah.
And we really liked that play of it. It was you and me and Richard and Michael.
Mm-hmm.
And Titans is Lukash's first game, or I don't know if it's his first game. I mean, I don't know how many he's done. I mean, there's 35 here, but that just could be every expansion for The Witcher Old World,
exactly.
which is his second game. No, there's a lot here actually.
We did King and Assassins. I've played King and Assassins. That's quite a well designed. Yeah, it's quite well designed. It's a nice little. Just let me double check it is the game I'm thinking of before I start talking rubbish. King.
Well, while you're looking that up, he's done something called Valhalla that I haven't played. So I've only really played Witcher Old World and Titans from him.
Yeah, King and Assassins. I've played that. That's actually got a Steam implementation. It's just a nice little. It's a bit limited, but it's a nice little 2-player sort of hidden role, hidden movement game. Basically, one of you's got a king who needs to move from point A to point B, and he's got bodyguards protecting him, and the other player can control all of the civilians in the market, but some of the civilians have been pre-selected to actually be assassins. So I'm kind of like moving my townsfolk close to you, and you're like, oh, is that an assassin or is that a double bluff? And it's nice. It's good. I enjoy it. I think it's definitely got somewhat limited replayability, but it's enjoyable.
Well, what's interesting is I've played Titans twice since we played it at Essen because I backed it on Kickstarter because I enjoyed our play at Essen so much. And it hasn't lived up to the first play, honestly. Every other play has been quite disappointing. Unfortunately,
you obviously didn't play with a super fun group like we had.
Obviously. It's like a characters on a map game, and it's sort of medieval style, and so it's Risk-esque, right? But the big difference is that you've got these action drafting areas, which you can see in the background here, but they haven't put out any of the action cards, and these allow you to move the characters around on the board, and so there's this whole sort of like planning for the future thing. And then you've got some asymmetrical factions, and you can develop them. They come with asymmetrical cards that you can unlock over the course of the game, or you can not focus on that. There's also a sort of an element of set collection of these combat cards that can be grouped together for extra powers and things like that. And so it's a really sort of Euro sensibility-ified version of Risk. I mean, I say that, like, there's the dice resolution even is very, like, sort of limited, right? Like, each player has their own pool of dice, and you can't get more dice than that. So it's like, there's no point in ever having 2 cannons in the same region, because you only have 1 cannon die, so you can't roll 2.
And if you're just joining us, we're talking about Titans because of a weird segue from...
we went down a hole. So and so then I played Witcher Old World, which I didn't back, because I watched their gameplay video on Kickstarter, and I was like... This downtime looks horrific.
Yeah, and the gameplay looked bad. I just thought it looked badly designed, genuinely. And I say that with love, because I really like some of Lucas's previous designs, but I did not like the look of Old World.
Yeah, so I was not super impressed with The Witcher. I was pretty much correct about the downtime. It was very, very long and very sort of solitary, and the combat was not especially interesting. I felt like it was led by the cards. But to say printing press,
I joked that I just liked the joke on the and the cat in the box. But what drew me to this is basically a contract building / drafting combined with tile drafting and tile laying seems quite appealing. And I also like that combined with, I always enjoy themes like this. These kind of like light historical themes, historical themes are often quite violent wars and stuff, but I always quite like stuff like quite wholesome historical themes, like the invention of the printing press, so people could start reading. That's lovely.
Yeah. This looks really nice, and I'd be keen to check it out. Even though I'm not maybe as confident in the designers as I might have once been, the game looks really nice, and I really liked in Gutenberg the mechanism of getting two halves of a contract and sort of fitting them together to sort of set your own puzzle. And it looks like they've kept that and added a spatial solution. This is at Bro Daddy Board Games' photo. I really like the look of this little spatial puzzle that you're doing to complete the contract that you've set.
Yeah, and it is super important.
Nice.
So I was going to reiterate, I did say it, but just because the pictures, I don't know why they've done the pictures this way. It is super important to say that you do not put the tiles into the frame. You built the frame is set to one side, and you're making whatever shape you want. You could make you could have your top. You could have 5 rows down, and your first row could be just 2 across, and your bottom row is 8 across, and your third, any combination could end up happening, and then you place the frame to make a 3x3 from the unholy mess you've created.
So it could expand. So they've very deliberately set these photos up
to be neat,
look like a 3x3, to be a neat photo.
But you do not build within the frame, and that's very important.
Well, that's a really fun sort of spatial
that could
part
be the
of
case. It could be that those could be pictures from an older rule set. That's definitely an option, I think.
Yeah, I was just looking to see if there was anything like that, but there's a little bit of reflection here. Look, this is at Raskozian's photo, and you can see here some of the tiles peeking out the edges. Yeah. So there you go.
So cool.
Nice one.
So the next one on the list is one that I suspect I haven't asked Mike about this, but I suspect.
No, these are all surprises to me. We should have said that. We should have led with that. I've got no idea what Chris has picked, and I'm going to be surprised and excited. And yeah, we know how to do entertainment.
This is a game next that I know Mike knows exists, and I suspect he's excited for as well. I think it's quite high up the hotness, unlike my first two as well. And it's a game that I don't know a whole lot about, but I remember, and it's one that I'm hoping Mike does know more about, because I have not researched this one like the previous two. But Pressure. I remember. Sorry.
Pressure.
Yes, the last two I knew the rules of. This one I do not, but I remember a mechanic that I was very excited about. So here it is. It is, forgive pronunciation, Kutnahora, the City of Silver.
Oh yes, yes. This is one that I've got on my list of things that I did some research for.
Excellent. I thought you might. So we saw this. We didn't get to play it, but we were shown a prototype at UKG, Mike and I, and we were talked through it. And I remember the thing that I immediately said to Mike when we walked away was, I really like that economic mechanic. So the main thing I remember from this game, and this is a pure hype selection, so hopefully Mike can add more context here. It's purely a hype selection based on how excited I was. I know this game just looks like this looks like a generic Euro game ever, but the way that supply and demand worked with the valuing of resources really excited me.
Yeah, so
off you go, Mike.
Oh dear.
You're the pro.
From what I'm recalling, as you can see down here in the corner, we've got our player board, and that's this purple board here. And what we're functionally doing is we're going onto the main game board here to build buildings and stuff like that, and you can see all the players that put their little houses out. And we're grabbing these contracts over here. So we're sort of getting the contracts, building the city to meet the rewards from the contracts, and to build the city you're going to use these resources, and you've got access to the resources that are shown here on your player board, which are... Oh, why is my cursor not showing up?
And each player is going to be like in charge of at least one resource, or like not in charge, in charge of essentially, right, the production of one resource, right, or a certain combination of resources.
Yeah, so the purple player here has the pink resource, the yellow resource, and the silver resource, and there might be overlap, but everyone's got a different set.
There's always overlap though. No one ever has a monopoly.
Yeah, exactly right. And then the resources are reflected up here on these boards, which are determining the price of the resource. And these are based on supply and demand. So the more resources that are available, the cheaper they become, and the more people buy them up, the more expensive they become. And much like Chris, I can't fully remember exactly how this system worked, but I also remember...
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I also remember being quite excited by it.
Well, it's not new. The idea of the more that there is of it, the cheaper it is, right? That's quite a basic
That's a very
principle. But I think it was the combination of that with the fact that the players have direct influence over production, and the fact that different players have influence over production of different things. So, but not a monopoly, which is crucial. So, so you will have some element of control, but not total control, and that leaves the room open for negotiation. It leaves the room open for spite.
I think what we're hoping for here is that this is a sort of a solid Euro tile laying economic management game with a nice spice of player interaction generated by the way people interact with this market that you see at the top here.
Yeah, it's resource management, city building, area controls going on, and then I'm hoping that it's all kind of really going to be spiced up and amplified by this interesting economic system. That's kind of my hope for it.
Yeah. It looked really interesting when we were looking at it at Essen, so I'm keen to check this out.
Yeah, there is a rule book for it,
but
I have not had a chance to read it.
Ah.
Unfortunately, I do apologize. But yeah, this is kind of my hype selection based on seeing it at UKGE. It's based on a real city as well, which I believe was in Poland or Czech Republic. Or I say Czech Republic, called Czechia now, isn't it?
We've got 3 designers, and it looks like they've all got a few credits, but it looks like it's a collab between 3 first-time designers, basically. So that's interesting. I always get sort of excited when I see a major publisher has picked up a game by first-time designers, because it usually means there's something sort of exciting or weird or interesting about it. So that's nice to see.
I've just got the price. There's actually a page in the rulebook called Prices, which just says Kutna Hora has 6 commodities. Their values are given in Prague groschen, the coin that King Wenceslas II began minting after he took control of the silver mines at Kutna Hora. When the game says you must pay a certain... Oh, that was the other thing. You don't get the resource. That was a part of it. You never actually have the resources. There's no representation of any of the resources. It's always done in money. So you always buy resources as you spend them. So if the picture you've got up there, if you needed 2 wood and a beer to build something, then what that actually translates to is 8. It's 4 + 4 + 7 money. So there's only actually one resource that you're accumulating, which is the silver or the groschen. And then it says prices change during gameplay whenever an effect advances population deck or the ore deck. Remove the top card, slide it into the back behind the other cards.
The card that so that's this 28
so the card literally slides in there where you can... Yeah, exactly, the 28. Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So that changes the track, and then the sliders go back and forth as well, so it's very dynamic.
Yeah, so and it says the next heading is literally a dynamic economy. Commodity prices follow the rational principle of supply and demand. As population increases, prices will also increase. As ore production increases, ore prices will fall, but silver prices and permit costs will rise. So it just looks super interesting.
Yeah, I'm very keen to check this out. I'm excited about this one.
And then there's the whole thing of building buildings on the top of the city, and also building the mine and expanding the silver mining underneath the city. Because that's the whole that's the whole kind of thematic thing about Kutna Hora, is that it was a city, as I said, I believe in the Czech Republic or Czechia, which was super rich in silver. And they just mined it basically and caught loads of silver. So yeah, very excited about that one.
Yeah, me too.
Shall we move on?
Yes. There's also something about building a cathedral in it.
Yeah. There's definitely a cathedral thing, because it's Europe. There's always a cathedral.
You've always got to build a cathedral.
So the next one Here it is. This is one that was on Kickstarter, but I didn't know it was on Kickstarter. I completely missed it. So perhaps Mike's backed it. I don't know.
Oh, I'm excited.
It's called Pampero.
Ah, haha. Come on, Link.
Do you know Pampero?
I backed Pampero.
Exciting. So Pampero, the thing that initially struck me about this is I was like, this almost looks like a Lacerda game. And then I saw that it had art by the wonderful Irish artist Ian O'Toole. And I said, that makes sense. That's why it looks like a Lacerda game. And then I was like, Julian Pombo. Who's Julian Pombo? I was like, he was the co-designer of Mercado de Lisboa, that light Euro game that Vital made. Wait, what's this? Oh, he also assisted in the development of every one of Lacerda's games. Not everyone, but a lot of his games anyway. So basically, Julian Pombo seems to be Lacerda's protege. And as an enormous Lacerda fan, I mean, I feel this guy, this is his first solo design. I feel this guy has well and truly paid his dues to the assistant designer / developer and playtester side. He's really worked hard as kind of a second fiddle, and I really am excited for him to have this solo design. Also, as a big Lacerda fan, it's a very exciting concept for me to have someone else, to a fresh take potentially on Lacerda's kind of style. So I don't know a lot about this game. I know that it's set in Uruguay. I'm assuming Julian is from Uruguay, therefore, because that's something I've always enjoyed about Lacerda's designs. I feel there's always a lot of Lacerda in his designs. He's very like Lisboa in particular. Lisboa, you can really feel the history of the city. That's where Lacerda's from. I feel he pours a lot of himself into his games. So I'm hoping Julian is from Uruguay, because I would like if that kind of feeling comes through in this game as well. But all I know about it is it's contract fulfillment, resource management. Something that really appealed to me about it, it's about making sustainable wind farms in Uruguay, which is apparently something that historically has happened because they don't have enough natural fossil fuels. So they were kind of ahead of the game as a result on that front. Something that really appealed to me, that this might be a poor comparison when we get into the meat and potatoes of it, which Mike might know a bit more about. But just from reading about the mechanism, something that it kind of drew a comparison for me with Brass. And what I mean in the way that player interaction works. So because you can actually utilize your opponent's resources and assets much, and that to me that reminds, so you can use their opponents like bulldozers to pay them for that use of that asset, and that kind of reminds me of the way you can piggyback off of people's railways and canals, and indeed use your opponent's coal and iron in Brass, and that's a mechanic I've always loved in Brass. So I don't know if that's a fair comparison. It's definitely I don't know if, as I said, when you get into the meat and potatoes of the mechanisms, whether that comparison still holds up, but at a surface level of just player interaction, it made me think of that.
Yeah, sadly, when I backed this, it was probably about a year ago, and I didn't know Chris was going to talk about it, so I've not exactly refreshed my mind on the rules. I do remember thinking about Brass, and the way you sort of...
Oh, you did? Good.
And I do also remember thinking about Barrage as well, and the way you can use other people's turbines and take the water. So it looked to me like sort of quite a heavy, complex Euro, but that had some really nice sort of sort of player interactions that were interesting and involved in it. And I remember being very struck with the theme as well. I liked the idea of the wind farms and building wind farms a lot. So that was a lot of what appealed to me about this.
So I do have to make the caveat, this is the one game on my list that apparently is not actually available to purchase. However, it is available to pre-order at Essen, and it's available to demo at Essen. So
great, we should go get a demo of this.
We should definitely get demos, but you can't, unfortunately, it's the one game on my list you cannot walk away with a copy in your hand from the convention. But I do have some honorable mentions to replace it in that sense. But yeah, so I just think it's as a huge fan of Sarah, it's just an exciting. It's exciting to see his kind of like his protege.
His influence spreading.
Yeah, and I think that's I have no idea who Julian is, but I'm happy for him.
Yeah, likewise, and it's nice to see sort of games coming from big or games that have been very successful within the market coming from more diverse areas as well. It's really great.
Yeah, so I'm excited to try that out.
Yeah, I do remember there's something going on here with all of this. You see all the different players' color infrastructure here, and the minute you give me like a territory with spots in it that we build on, and then we have to like get those spots and compete with each other for those spots, I'm like, I'm in.
Yeah.
Tell me more. You know?
Did you say that you also independently had the thought of the comparison to Brass in terms of player?
Yeah, it was sort of Brass and also Barrage, just sort of because they are games where you utilize each other's things and you need to be paying attention to sort of the influence of players on the board, but they're not like sort of directly confrontational in a way.
Yeah, right? It's one of my favorite. I think Brass probably has my favorite player interaction of all time because it's incredibly direct and it massively directly impacts you. But it's also sort of weirdly friendly, but also not. It's also not like it's like in Brass when if you use someone up the iron if I use Mike's iron to build my dock or whatever I'm building, I'm like, well, that's great. I don't need to buy iron from the market. This is massively economically helpful for me. But I'm also flipping Mike's iron foundry, and he's getting a massive ton of points.
Yeah,
it's so beneficial to both parties. But the flip side, Mike could have been planning to use that iron, and Mike might not have the resources, then the money to buy the iron from the market. There might not be any other iron available. And now he's like, oh, now I need to build another iron foundry. Oh, but maybe someone else will build it. Oh, I don't know. It's just, I love it. It's so, as I said, so unbelievably aggressively interactive and yet sort of weirdly collaborative as well. Yeah. And I hope this invokes that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would, I do remember getting sort of a sense of sort of shared infrastructure. I'm not sure if it's quite as pronounced as that, but there's definitely something going on. Anyway, I'm very excited for this. I think it's hopefully going to be delivering very soon if they're demoing it and they've got pre-orders and stuff.
Yeah.
So that'll be exciting.
So we'll definitely demo that, and I will potentially stick down a pre-order. We shall see.
Teach me how to play. Ape Games. Teach me.
And then if you're interested in us teaching other people how to play, this service is available.
It's true.
Right, the last game on the official 5 list. I mean, Pampro, I suppose we might have to swap out on the official list for a game that's available to buy. Although I never actually set I never actually said that was a criteria, but I guess it was an unspoken one. This is one I'm gonna guess Mike again knows about this one. Because I believe it's the follow-up to a game that Mike likes, and it is The White Castle.
I do. I read the rulebook for this.
Excellent. I also have checked out the rules for this one. So I have never played the Red Cathedral, but I have been to Himeji Castle. There is actually a video of me while we were walking around. I waited very. I waited. If only I had it available to show everyone right now. I waited until Deborah and I were alone in this section with all the weapons, and then I ran around and did a ninja roly poly in the castle, which was immensely pleasing. But yeah, Himeji Castle is really beautiful. It's about 40-minute train ride from Osaka, in Japan. It's apparently the most famous. It's called the Heron Castle, I think. It's the most famous. It's the best preserved Japanese feudal Japanese castle, which is why we went to it. We also went to Osaka Castle and some other one I can't remember. But this is it's really beautiful, and it's very well preserved, and it just was very. And I just really enjoyed being to it. So going to it. So that's kind of why this flagged up, and I thought I'd check it out because, like Tipperary, demonstrated, I'm kind of a sucker for I get pulled in by theme and I stay for mechanics. That's kind of how it tends to go with me. But then when I checked out the rules, I really, really enjoy. I have no idea if it's similar to Red Cathedral or not, but I really liked the mechanics I then saw. So it's basically there's a lot going on with it, right? It's dice drafting. It's
so there is here's a photo from at Devere. So this is Devere's own photo of the game sort of pseudo setup. It doesn't really look like it's fully. No, this is just showing off the components. Yeah, I mean, it's sort of set up. Red Cathedral and Bamboo are the sort of other two titles in their small box, big game series, which I've just coined the term for. It's not a thing they call it, but it's what it is. And I like that. And then, of course, the Red Cathedral had an expansion, which is the same size box, and it doesn't fit in the first box. So, I mean, it's now 2 boxes, but I still like that even those 2 boxes for Red Cathedral are still smaller than a normal game box.
Yeah.
And it's still it's a heavy sort of meaty-ish game. Now, is this is the same 2 designers, isn't it?
It is, yes.
As Red Cathedral. So I like Red Cathedral. I don't really want to talk about it too much because everyone's possibly played it, or if they haven't, it's not really why we're here anyway. But Red Cathedral is effectively like there's a lot of player interaction in Red Cathedral, and you've got, I'm sure, okay, show me a good photo. At least these are all photos from the publishers. So these are your dice here, and what you're going to do is you're going to move them around this ring to pick actions and things like that. And the sort of number of actions in spaces where you land determine what happens. And what's kind of fun as well is you've got these little eagles going around the outside tracking your victory points. But the victory points are actually these eagle symbols below this track. So you can see as the yellow eagle might advance along here, when it gets to 5, it's 1 victory point. So these are called prestige points, and you can spend them like a currency. So you always want to get to like sort of like, and then every time you spend prestige points, you want to like not go below the victory points. I think that's how, no, it's the opposite way round. The top track is victory points and the bottom track is prestige points. And when you spend prestige points, you go back to the last number. So when you get to like 4, you don't want to spend them because you'll go back to 0. But when you get to 6, you can spend them because you'll just go back to 5. And it's really interesting. And ultimately what you're doing is you're building a cathedral.
Because it's Europe.
Because it's Europe, which are made up of these cards here that you can see here. And you're paying these resources at the top, and then you're getting the benefits shown on the cards. And there is... then they're flipped over, and you're put on top of them. And it's actually like a system of... Actually, these tokens here are like bennies that you get to collect, and they give you like sort of upgrades for your board. And you can see here blue is committed to building this card here and has applied 2 resources already. So you don't need to pay them all at once. You can sort of store them, and then you've got a warehouse system where you have to manage resources on the warehouse. But primarily what you're trying to do is get majorities in columns, and then you also need to finish the column, right? So green has got like 1 in this column here. I don't think this is legal because I'm pretty sure you have to build from the ground up. So I don't think green can finish the hat first, but I could be wrong about that. Maybe I'm misremembering. They've also added an adornment, which is a way to get in on the area majority. So basically what this is columns of the cathedral are area majority. And of course I love that because I love anything where it's like, you know, pay attention to what other people are building and committing to and get involved. And then you've only got a very limited number of adornments. So adornments are a good way to sort of nab an extra point in the majority for a column, you know, and you can add windows and doors as you go. But if you run out of adornments, then you can't compete. So it's like, oh, what's that person going to do with that adornment? So that's really nice. I really, I liked it. I played it with the expansion. I've played it with the expansion as well. That integrates really, really well. Red Cathedral is a really solid game. So I'm interested in White Castle.
And what did you think from your initial reading of the rules?
I found it very hard to get a sense of the game from the rules. I
really
really liked the I suppose I should probably also mention that actually all of my plays of Red Cathedral have not been with my copy of the game, but I've also got a review copy of Red Cathedral and contractors from Thames, actually, who publish it in English. So Thames Cosmos. So just full clarity, it was actually given to me for free, even though I've played other people's copies of it.
Do you want to bring up the picture that has the kind of overview of stuff?
Of White Cathedral. I'm just looking for a good one.
White Castle.
Yeah, White
there's
Castle.
one. There's quite a good one that that kind of shows the. Where is it? I'm trying to sit on your screen. I've got quite a good one up.
It's not
that one there. That one right there.
This one?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. So the thing the crux of it is it's essentially a dice drafting and then dice placement. So you can take dice from the 3 bridges. You can take it from either side. The lower numbers will always be on the left and the higher numbers on the right. If you take it from the left, you get a bonus, which is your lantern bonus, which is determined by what's on your player board, and that'll be improved as the game goes on. And the higher numbers on the right. Higher numbers are always better because you can when you're then dice worker placing, for lack of a better term, with those dice, you have to play a die equal to or higher than the number shown. So there's a 3 there. I think it's the only space that actually has a number available to see is the 3 behind chat actually on the on Mike's screen there to the right. It's behind chat, Mike. There you go. There's a 3. So you can place. So actually, I say you have to place at least that. That's not true. You can actually place any die value there, but you have to supplement the pips with coins. So you could play a 1 there and pay 2 coins, or you could play a 4 there and you'd get a coin. And that's why the higher numbers are always better. Even if you're even if you overpaying actually still has a benefit, so that's why you get a lantern bonus for taking a lower number. When you place there in that 3, as you could place any color, but then the color you play determines exactly which action of those 3 actions you're going to take. I find that once again it's kind of similar to the printing press game. I really like how much freedom there is there, that you actually can. You are restricted in terms of the value of the dice, but it's kind of only in a secondary bonus versus penalty kind of way. You're generally speaking always going to be, obviously if you don't have any money at all, you won't be able to potentially what will be limited by the available dice. You won't be able to do an option won't be able to perform an action you want to, but for the most part you're always going to be able to do the action you want. And there is you can't see it there, but because the dice are covering it, but at the bottom of the board there's a well action to the left there. The requirement for that is a 1. So there where the 4, the 1, and the 5 are. So there's no limit to how many dice can go there. You'll always, that's a way to always just get money. So if you
this is exempt from the normal rule. Yeah. You just throw a die in there and get a bunch of money.
Yeah, you actually get a resort. You actually get something else as well. But because it's a 1 required to go there, you're always going to get a bunch of money. You're only ever going to be limited by for like 1 turn. And then on your own player board, which are set face, which are sitting up next to the box there, you have a bunch of 6s, so you have to have a 6 to go there, and you get benefits based on the slots next to them are actually where your workers live. Sorry,
you don't have to have a 6 to go there. You just
do you not?
No, you need to match the color, and then it's the money as normal. So it's a 6, which means you'll always have to pay something with the first die you put in there.
Sorry, yes, sorry. You can always pay up with the pips, yeah. And you get the benefit based on how many workers you've played. So this is another mechanic I always enjoy. Those are your workers I can't remember what they're called, courtiers, farmers, and gardeners, and soldiers, something like that. And then the more of those you've placed out, the better you've made this action. The more
so they come off here, and then you get what's shown on the income track.
Yeah, and then you also get that little slot next. There's a little the gold and black slot is for cards. You'll also get extra benefit based off the card that's in that slot. And then when you get new cards from the player board, the old card is put face down where those lanterns are, and that's what makes your lantern action, your bonus action, better. So whenever you take low value dice, you get your lantern bonus, which is improved by how many times you've taken cards from the board and replaced your old one. And then you're basically gathering resources so that you can put out workers, and then putting out the workers increases improves your engine, but also gets you points based on how high the workers have climbed in the castle, based on how many soldiers you got out and how many gardeners you got. Now they all score points in slightly different ways, I believe, and they all get you bonuses replacing them, and it just looks like a very, very pleasant dice drafting worker placement game.
Yeah, I really like the way these spots work. So you've got your 3 here. So any color can go on gray, but then it determines the action, and then you have to pay if you go lower, right? So you always want to be going higher if you can, but those dice are just going to go. And the way it kind of works is you can't really see it here, but there'll be 3 dice on the bridge, and then 1 on either end of the bridge. And so you pick 1 from the end, and then that determines whether you get the lantern action or not, and then the other dice will slide off the end. So if you keep taking the nice low dice, actually then your opponents are going to get the high dice and the lantern bonus, which is nice for them. So that's really cool, sort of player interaction consideration. So I talking through this with you now, I think I'm quite hyped for this, actually. I liked Red Cathedral a lot. It had sort of solid Euro stuff going on and nice player interactions. I mean, I'm not good at Red Cathedral because the dice kept winding up in spots that were not good for me, and I couldn't figure out how to get the players to put them where I wanted, so I could get the bonuses I'd unlocked. But I still really enjoyed it, and I really like the look of this one too.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, I'm very excited for this one. So that's probably my most anticipated because it's at present, as I said, I still have there's still so many games that I briefly read the blurb of, but didn't have time to fully research, and I didn't feel comfortable putting them on this list, having not researched them fully. But there's so many games that could supplant. All 5 of these could be supplanted. Looks like there's a lot coming out, but this is just my initial reaction from kind of perusing and researching the ones that initially got my attention. In terms of kind of a few honorable mentions to potentially replace Pampero, because it's not actually available to buy, I'll very quickly just mention a few of them. I'm aware that have you ever played a game called Welcome to?
Yep.
Yeah. Welcome to is getting a collector's edition.
Welcome to Space as well.
There's also Welcome to Las Vegas, which I don't like as much. Welcome to is getting a collector's box with all the stuff, which I'm probably going to pick up because I don't own any of it, but I really like it.
I don't own it either, actually, but I've just played a bunch of it.
Yeah, me too. The War of the Ring card game expansion Against the Shadow is going to be there, which
we demoed that.
Yeah, we demoed that. It's the cooperative variant. It's a very simple expansion. It kind of just changes. It slightly changes some of the evil cards basically, so that it works as a cooperative game against an AI. But I'm very excited about that because it's a game that I really enjoy, that I don't get to play enough of because Deborah does play it with me, but not very often because I think she has this hang up from how ridiculously long and complicated the War of the Ring board game was. So even though she has played the card game and even though she is aware it's not as complicated, she has this hang up from the board game. So I think a cooperative version might be slightly easier to persuade her to play with me.
It will also, I think, be much better at 2 because I do think the War of the Ring card game wants to be 4. Really.
Oh, it absolutely wants to be 4, and I've yet to play it at 4, apart from that first game we played at Essen last year, or 2 years ago.
So I've not got War of the Ring, the card game. I'd really like to get a copy though. I've played it since we played it, and it came out at the club.
Did you play it at 4 or 2?
We played it at 4 down at the War Games Club, and it's really nice. It's a really nice game.
Yeah. So I'm excited to get that. We should get together at some point and play a 4-player game. You, me, and 2 other humans.
Yeah, it definitely wants people who are good at card games. sort of getting. It's sort of loosely based on the Ian Brody's Quartermaster series, and so if you're familiar with that, that will be vaguely helpful. But really, it's it's a lot about sort of managing cards and sort of making tough decisions about what to give up and what to keep, which I'm pretty bad at. I want to keep everything.
Another quick honorable mention is Imperial Miners, which we demoed at UKGE.
Yes.
This is a game which I really enjoyed, despite it being, I mean, it was like 100% solo, competitive solo, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So that's something that I'm always very wary of, and I don't know how long, therefore, it'll keep my interest. But I really enjoyed the one game we played.
Yeah, so it's functionally like a sort of an engine builder, right? Where you are, I mean, this is a terrible photo, where you're basically, players are taking or you're not taking turns really, it's actually almost entirely simultaneous play, but you're getting cards to add to your tableau. This is a vaguely good photo from @PanPhantomus. And what you can see here is somebody's mine, which is this board along here, and then below the mine they've got spots for cards. And so what you're doing is you're getting these cards and you're putting them down into these columns, and then you can get these little mine carts as well, which give you points, but that's about all they do. But really you're looking at the sort of the paths through the mine here. So, you start at the top and then you go onto a card, go into a card it touches, go into another card it touches, and you trigger it up from the bottom, and so you're like coming up with the wealth, and it's like an engine, right? So do you know what it kind of reminds me of a little bit was Martin Wallace's London, if you've ever played that? It's sort of like set up an engine and then sort of trigger it once or trigger it twice or whatever, get the bennies. But this is much more formalized. Obviously in London you trigger it when you're ready, and there's strategies where you maybe build a huge engine and do it once. Here it's like every turn, add a card and then trigger a row.
Also in London, triggering your engine is also generates your I can't, Deborah calls it your poor.
You're poor.
Yeah.
It's pollution.
It represents the poor people, doesn't it?
It's pollution, man.
No, it's not. No, there's definitely a mechanic of poor in there.
Okay, maybe. I thought it was pollution, but there might be variations as well. Different versions of it.
I think it's poor. Anyway, doesn't matter. The point is, it generates something bad, which this doesn't do.
There's no sort of negative downsides. The only downside really is
it's called poverty. There's 100% a poverty mechanic in London. 100%.
Fair enough. I thought it was pollution.
It's poverty, dude. Because as the more we industrialize, the more we're like increasing the economic gap, right?
Yeah, we're laying people off. Get out of here. Automation's taking over. Right, so anyway,
so I'm excited to play it again, and I can't decide if I want to buy a copy or not, because I don't know, will I get bored of the fact that there's 0 player interaction.
Yeah, that's basically, it's a nice engine builder. The puzzle's reasonably compelling. There's some nice, you've got some tracks here that you can advance up as well. They're just kind of off the board here, but these tracks, you can advance up them for bennies, and then when you fall off the track, you can go up a different track and get some different bennies.
I might describe it as a nice engine builder. I was super hyped for the engine building aspect, but I think what I really want is this engine building element to be put into a game that has more player interaction. That's what I really want.
For me, this doesn't have enough player interaction. Like, subjectively, I want at least like a little card drafting or something going on.
Yeah, anything like that.
Just give me something to care about what other people are doing. But this is all like simultaneous play. So if you like sort of setting up a combo engine and then just pulling the lever and producing money, then you'll like this. But if you want to care about what your opponent's board looks like beyond just how much money they've got, then it's not going to scratch that itch, unfortunately.
Yeah. So I have 2 more very quick mentions before I have to go to work, unfortunately. One, this next one will be very quick because I know nothing about it. It is simply on previous designer hype. It is called... Oh, I've lost... what's happened? There we go. It's called Run by Tim Fowers. I really like Tim Fowers' stuff. I really like 2-player only games. I really like Tim's 2-player only games. Fuchsia's the only one I can think of. I really like hidden movement games. I really like Tim's hidden movement games. This just ticks a lot of boxes. I know nothing about this. Absolutely nothing except it's 2-player hidden movement. Catch the criminal. Basically, almost looks like a bigger version of Fugitive. I know nothing about it, and I'm excited to find out more about it. You can't get more Essen hypey than that.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, Fowers has done a fair amount of 2 head-to-head games. He did Heist, and he's done also the team hidden movement team game that I forgot the name of.
Sabotage, which we must actually get a copy of that. I really wanted to try that out.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, I mean, I like what I've experienced of Tim's work. I remain a big fan of the original version of the bank robbery game.
Burglar Bros. Burglar Bros 2 is a straight up improvement.
Yeah. I mean, I've still got the original one. I like it a lot.
The first one's good, but the second one fixes the one kind of problem I had with the first one, like straight up.
Which was the levels are not in an actual tower.
No, the fact that there's no, I don't play with the built-in thing was fun, but no, my main problem is there's no real compelling reason to run. There's not enough time pressure. You can pretty much always afford to peek, and there's no real reason not to. But there are very definite reasons why you might want to just charge in blindly in the remake, not remake, in the sequel. Burger Bros 2 is simply better than Burger Bros 1, in my opinion. I love it. It's really good.
Oh, there you go. So yeah, this will be fun to go and check this out. I don't know much about it. I'll be excited to have a look at it in more detail.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say very quickly as well, if you want to know more about Burger Bros, you can find the playthrough on our show.
Yes, indeed. The first one is very good. And still has a place in the world.
And if you don't have either, why not just get the second?
Yeah, I definitely think so the very last one I have as an honorable mention is kind of a very basic one because I believe it's currently absolute top of the hotness. And oh no, my camera's just died. I forgot to plug it in.
No, we've got you.
Oh well, it's gonna die in a second.
Okay.
But while I'm fixing that, I'm going to take a wild guess that Mike is prepared to talk about this because it's number one in the hotness. Among cultists.
Not only am I prepared to talk about this, Chris, but I actually have a review copy of it right here in my house.
Oh, excellent. I did not know that. Well, there you go. That'll save me.
So, sadly, it does want 4 players, and my review copy has a punch board missing, so I can't play it.
Could you bring it with you and we can play it on the first night when we get there?
I can have a look. I don't think it's playable with the missing punch board, though.
Could we get a replacement punch board and play it at some point over Essen?
I've asked them. We'll see what we can do. But yeah, I mean, I was very... So, first off, credit to Goto Games. They emailed me and they said, would you like a review copy of Among Cultists? And because I run this whole operation on a shoestring budget, I was like, yes, please send it to me. And they were very, very kind, because in their email they wrote, would you like a review copy with absolutely no expectation of content on our part? Which I just thought was such a great way to handle it. I actually want to call it out here.
Well, at the very least, at least we're talking about it now.
Yes, well, precisely. So, maybe it was all ulterior motives, but
oh no, I didn't mean that. I'm just saying at the very least, at least they'll have gotten a little.
They've gotten something out of it, yeah. But I'm more than happy to repay that kindness because, so often when we're sent review copies and things like that, there's a expectation for us to sort of come out and produce stuff within certain time frames, and also to generally be very positive. And so it's very refreshing to see a board game company behave in this way. I was very pleased about that. Now, looking into the game further, I was very pleased to discover that it's effectively a group of agents who are exploring and this is the designers posted this photo, Hatter M111. Here's another photo from him. So effectively, it looks kind of like Clue, right?
Well, so apparently it's based on Among Us.
Oh, is it?
Apparently so, yeah.
I mean, I
Which
guess
we
that sort of makes sense.
which we streamed back in the pandemic days.
We did stream some Among Us during the pandemic days. So you're effectively wandering around this university, and you're trying to solve the mystery of the university. And the reality is that some of you are cultists who are involved in the mystery, traitors hiding in the midst of the group, and you've got to effectively figure out who these people are by what they're doing, the actions they're taking, and how they're trying to undermine the group as the game goes on. And I thought it sort of looked like Clue, where you're trying to sort of process of elimination, resolve the mystery, but instead of, unlike in Clue, where it's a race to solve the mystery, in this, you will eventually solve the mystery, so it's kind of a race to do it before the cultists murder you all. The hidden traitor mechanism. So it is a 4 to 8 player social deduction game with hidden roles. So of course Michael will be extremely excited to play it. I'll have to check if I have enough character boards.
I don't know if it's the kind of hello Fitz. I don't know if it's the kind of hidden role game that stresses Michael out enormously.
I suspect it probably is, because it's straight up just hidden traitors.
But like, is there like an interrogation mechanic? I guess. I mean, that's what I'm wondering. I guess.
Not that I'm aware of. I think it's
or is it just kind of observing what people, oh, why is he going that room, that kind of stuff, or is there actually like to what extent will there be table talk regarding?
I suspect that will be largely group dependent. It's like how much table talk is in your game of Unfathomable.
I guess, for example, what I'm getting at is obviously Michael hates Blood in the Clock Tower or Avalon or Resistance or Werewolf, but he's okay with Deal with the Devil, right?
Yes, but I think Deal with the Devil is very low player interaction. I think like it really leans into that because there's not really much.
But it absolutely is hidden role. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it is hidden role. There's a voting system.
It is possible that Michael can be okay with I got my camera back. Hey. So yeah, I guess that's what I'm wondering. Like, is it closer to Blood in the Clock Tower, or is it closer to? You might have to like do something with my camera to make it come back.
No,
I'm sure.
You're all good.
We're good. Excellent.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's what I'm just wondering. Is it? Might he be okay with it because it's going to be mostly there's not like going to be a lot of table talk about who you are, like in Deal with the Devil.
Yeah, it's hard. I suspect this will have quite a lot of table talk. I think that's it seems like the bulk of the game is working out who the cultists are based on their actions and what they're doing.
Vent Michael looks sus. But yeah, if we vent Michael, he doesn't have to worry about lying.
Quite. Well, if we can just there is a function where the good guys are killed and eliminated. I don't think there's player elimination though, so there must be some mechanism by which they can still participate.
Yeah, it must be. I mean, that's a lesson I think that's being learned at this point by these games.
This rulebook doesn't want to cooperate. It's utterly frozen.
But I don't know anything about this game. It's top of the hotness. B, I do remember being on Kickstarter, but I didn't back it. I like Stefan Godot.
Oh dear.
I like some of his previous stuff. So and obviously, regular viewers will know how much I adore social deduction games. So this is right up my alley.
Yes, I mean I did think about you when they were like, "Do you want a copy of this?" And they sent me it with both the expansions and a third box that comes with basically a way to make your own character cards. And the idea is, and it's all stickers and card stock, and the idea is that you put photos of your friends in there to make characters based on your friends.
Oh, that's super fun. Oh, we have to do that. I'm very excited now.
So it's like... I'll check to see if there's enough character boards in my copy to actually play it at Essen, but I think we might be one short. I think I've only got 3 character boards, unfortunately.
Oh, that'd be a pity. But yeah, so I mean, I guess you can slot in this is available at Essen, isn't it?
Yes, I'm almost sure it is.
I'm almost certain as well.
Yeah, I'm confident.
It shows up when you do that filter. So. I guess you could slot this in instead of as my number 2 instead of Pampero, if you want to have a list, my 5 lists that actually are all available to walk away with at the convention. There are a lot of other games that took my interest. Kelte is one. Inferno is another. Although I think Inferno is only available to demo. I don't think that's coming out this year. Um, oh, there's so many. Redwood caught my eye. There's a lot.
Well, it's often the case that when we arrive at Essen, we get to sort of sit down, and this is a photo from the designer David Mendez. When we get to Essen, we sit down, we start demoing stuff, and we're like, "Oh, this is super cool." I remember last Essen actually as well. Heat basically came out of nowhere.
Yeah. I literally actually played. That's on BGA now. I played that on Sunday on BGA.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
BGA.
It literally just came to beta, I think, very recently.
I wonder, are they going to have the new June game there? No, that's coming out later this year, isn't it?
What's that? June game?
No, this has just come up in my brain because that's what I played on Sunday. Was June Imperium, one of the 2 expansions.
Sorry, go.
So there's a new core set called June Imperium Uprising. And the way this kind of works is that you can use it with the 2 expansions, but sub in Uprising instead of the core game, and it replaces all the cards, and it's got new mechanisms in it.
Right.
But you can also combine all the cards from the original core set with this core set to play uber random June, if that's indeed what you want to do.
But there's Nucleum. I know has definitely looks like it's worth checking out.
Nucleum, of course, is one that I've got a list of there are 3 games from Simone Luciani coming out at Essen this year. Nucleum is one of them. Now, the notable thing about Luciani, because he's a designer I like, is that he's always a collaborator. So this is his collaboration with David Surtsey, of Anachrony fame, and solo mode fame. Is
Anachrony his most famous? I don't think it is.
What is more famous?
Tricarion, maybe?
He didn't work on that.
Did he not?
No, that's the other 2 guys from Mind Clash. The 2 founders.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well then, yes, I guess you're right then.
No, Surtsey, he worked with Mind Clash, but I think they picked up Anachrony, so they sort of found him, but he wasn't, I don't think, one of the founders. I could be completely wrong, but I've played. I'm
pretty sure. I thought I have a very vivid memory of playing Tricarion at UKG one year, and David walking past and be.
He might be a developer on it or something like that.
And making some comment about I think he definitely worked on it. Maybe he didn't.
I mean, he's not a credited designer, but
maybe the comment he made was just referring to the fact that he was working with Mind Clash at the time. You know what? I think he was taking the opportunity to tell us about Anachrony. I think that was actually what he was doing.
Yeah, their next game.
Anachrony was on Kickstarter at the time. He was
sense.
Like, "You guys like that game? You should check out this upcoming game."
So I'm a big fan of Anachrony. I really like it. At 3 players, specifically. But Anachrony's great, but I'm not much of a fan of Surtsey's other work. I'm still making up my mind about Imperium and Voidfall, which are, of course, collabs with Magic Buckle. But I did not like Taunted Suyu, which is his solo design. I thought it was extremely mechanical and bare bones, and it didn't really vibe with me. But Luciani is a designer I really like, and he's a collaborator. He always collabs with other designers, and I find he kind of just elevates their games to sort of a really sort of elegant and nice state. And so looking at Nucleum, I see some of the really nice positive elements of Surtsey's designs, and also I get another taste of Barrage as well, because this is about producing energy like Barrage, but also you can use other people's infrastructure to do it. I'm just super hyped for Nucleum.
Just to clarify, this is about developing nuclear energy for beneficial reasons and not about making A-bombs, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay, cool. I have zero problem with violence in board games, but the Manhattan Project and stuff is just not a thing that interests me in any way, shape, or form. so it's like I haven't seen Oppenheimer, and I never will, because it bores me to tears, just the notion of watching that movie. So just to clarify, that's why I asked, not because I care about violence being depicted.
No, this is about energy generation. So you come into these cities on the board, and then you build up buildings, and you build railways, you build the facilities to produce energy, and then you have to produce energy. And actually, much like the looks of Pampero, you sort of compete and also utilize each other's infrastructure potentially. So I'm excited for this. We've got a full demo of it with Paul Grogan. Lucky us.
Oh, we've already got set up. This is what I love about Mike. He has all these things set up before I even have to ask. My favorite thing about Essen is like I come to Mike a week before often and go, Mike, have you seen this game? Yes, we're playing it on the Tuesday. Or there's no Tuesday, but Mike's also terrible at detail, so he might well say Tuesday. I mean Thursday.
That's why I have a schedule. I write it down.
He's got his strengths and his weaknesses.
Yeah, I'm literally that meme where like they're trying to put people's names in their brains, and there's too much games, you know.
Just very quick, I gotta go, but just very quickly, Darkmind just mentioned Spellbook might be a nice quick card game. Don't know anything about it. I
just saw that Rodney released a video, and it's Philip Walker Harding, isn't it? Yeah, Phil Walker Harding. So we like My Shelfie, and we like Barron Park. So we might.
Oh, it's Barron Park. I see. Yes.
Yeah. So it's Barron Park and My Shelfie guy, and I don't know much about this, but I do like Wizards. I'm a big fan of Wizards.
Wizards. I immediately like the aesthetic. Excuse me, the theme and aesthetics, and the designer has previous positivity with me. So yeah, definitely something I'll be interested in checking out.
Who's the publisher of this one?
Space Cowboys. It looks like, or well, plus 3 more. It says.
Cool. Well, we'll have to go and check this out for sure.
Yeah. You said it looks like a light card game. Did you, Darkmind? Yeah, it looks easy and cool. Yeah. Well, that's always good. It's always good to juxtapose and something like Pampero with something nicer and light, like Tipperary or Spellbook.
And set collection.
Hand management, set collection.
I'm sorry. Yep. I mean, what I'd like to see, hopefully, is what I like about Phil's games is there's always a very subtle but important amount of player interaction. You know, in Barron Park, it's like sort of functionally a race game to get as many points in your park before someone finishes the park.
Yes.
And what I like about My Shelf is it's kind of the same thing. You're drafting tiles to put into your shelf, and on each turn you can take 3 tiles that are in a row. But if somebody's you want to take tiles one at a time, so you can make the perfect arrangement of tiles in your shelf. But if someone else is taking 2 or 3 on a turn, they're going to finish their shelf before you're done, and you're going to have a perfect half shelf. You know, so it's sort of a race to keep up with whoever's moving fastest while trying to solve the puzzle at the same time. So it's really nice. I really like.
Apparently, this has a similar race aspect where you have the game ends when someone finishes their 5 spells. Apparently, according to Darkmind.
Great.
So similar thing where you could take your time and win, or you could try and rush defense it. Nice.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in terms of like sort of the super light stuff, I've always found Phil Walker Harding's games to be quite pleasing. So also nice to check out.
Well, I'm afraid that unfortunately I have to go because I've bills to pay, and I have arranged this system where I exchange my time and expertise in exchange for money. And then I use that money to pay the bills that I need to pay. So it's quite a clever idea, but the problem is it means I have to go because this is one of the times I've agreed I'm going to go and exchange my time and expertise.
Thanks for explaining the system, Chris.
I gotta go work, guys. So I need to go.
They call this system job. But yeah, so thanks so much for joining us, Chris. I'll probably stick around for a little bit, guys, and just walk you through some notes from some of the other hot games coming out. I'm gonna do a real quick sort of highlight because we've been, just to punch through some of the stuff I've seen that I'm interested in checking out. But yeah, we'll let Chris go, and I'll be back soon.
Cool. Money can be exchanged for goods and services. You're quite right, Difter. Is that from IT Crowd or something? I can't remember. That seems like that rings a bell. Anyway, yes, thank you everyone for indulging my list. Hope it was somewhat helpful. Hope you got to see a couple of games that you were not aware of that maybe you're excited about now. Enjoy the rest of your time with Mike. I'm sure he has some more interesting takes on the hotness. And I will catch you guys at Essen. And now I have to hang up awkwardly. Oh wait, no, it's not on the phone. It's here.
We'll go to Thumb. We'll be right back. Hello, I'm back. Oh, Chris is still here. Alright, give me a moment to fix that. Poor Chris. Alright. Right, so that was the hype. Chris is excited for games to come out at Essen. I have meanwhile been going through the Essen Spiel list and looking for games that I'm excited about, but I didn't find as many as... I mean, I'm probably just very jaded. So it's nice to sort of for Chris to come along and be so excited for everything, and I find it quite refreshing actually. So that's really nice. Let me bring up the list here because I think my notes. I just started at the top of the list basically and just started going down it, and I'm going to try to continue to do that as we approach Essen, because you know I was a big fan of Pilgrim, which I stumbled upon. So I'm always sort of looking for the things that are a little bit unusual, you know. Not unusual, that's not right. But yeah, I mean, I guess sort of unusual or otherwise hard to find, or sort of doing something a bit exciting and a bit new. But it's also useful to see what people are excited about. So in this case, it's the stuff people are giving the thumbs up to, which includes Among Cultists, which is here number 1. So Evacuation. This is the new Vladimir Suki game. He's always got 1 coming out at Essen, usually, typically. This year he's got 2. This is a new one. The other game is a reprint of one of his first games. If not his first game. I think it's the second game. But this is Evacuation, and this looks really interesting. I'm always sort of wary with Suki's games because I've played basically all of them. In fact, his second game coming out at Essen this year is Shipyard 2nd Edition. And I can bring up Suki, actually. I mean, so this is a photo he posted. I think Shipyard could be his first game? Second game. League of Six. Okay, so I haven't played that either. Oh my god. Okay, so there's a few here I haven't played. I haven't played 20th Century either. Right, so I guess I missed his first 3 games. I've played Last Will, which I'm a big fan of. Prodigal's Club, which is fine too. Pulsar 2849, it's great. Underwater Cities, I'm not a big fan of that. A lot of people love it. It's actually really high up on the list now. But I bounced off this pretty hard, simply because of the downtime. And it's a really interesting worker placement tableau building game, but I just feel like to make the worker placement the most exciting it can be. So you're taking these spots around the board and you're trying to match up the spots with the cards you're playing. So you're like building a tableau out of green, yellow, and red cards. And you want to get the best benefit. You want to play a red card while you take a worker in a red space. And sort of coordinating that is a really interesting puzzle. And then you've got the tableau that you're building for combos and benefits, which is really appealing. But of course, there are 5 spaces you see here on the 3 to 4 player side of the map for the red players. There's a 2-player side of the map, which has much fewer spaces. But I just felt like the interaction between the workers on the board and the player order, which is this track here, was most interesting at 3 or 4. But at those counts, the downtime was so high. Like at 2, the downtime is really high because the tableau just gets massive. And you're also building this board out, which you can't really see here. But because this is I'll credit the photographer in a minute, but you've got your player board here and you're building these domes and storing little factories that build resources in them, and you're building these tunnels as well for points, and if you connect them up to these city tiles, more points. I don't know why I'm explaining all of Underwater Cities, and thanks to David Alves for that photo. But anyway, So, but Underwater Cities is probably the one I bounced off hard. Actually, no. Praga Kaput Regni I really liked. I played that solo on the show. That's great. I still like that one a lot. Messina 1347. I played this with Chris and Michael at Essen the year it came out, which is 2021. I've since sold my copy. I played it a few more times. I played it at 2 and 3. It just never really grabbed me. Messina 1347. It's a nice game, and it's I mean, it's, you know, the thing about Suki's games is they're all solid heavy Euros, you know, and they're quite complex. There's a lot going on in them. So here's a photo from him, and what's going on in this one is you've all got these so this is the outbreak of the bubonic plague, and it's the arrival of the bubonic plague in the city, and you've got these, basically these estates, these big rondels on your player board here are your estates, and don't worry, Darkmind, I've at least got one of those covered. After Us was actually released at UKGE, and I bounced off it pretty hard because it's got no player interaction. So this one here is, yeah, so basically what you're doing here is you're building out your estate, and there's all this sort of stuff going on your player board, but fundamentally what you're doing is you're taking your little worker meeples here and you're putting them out on this city board here, and then they actually have to walk around. So like you put them on one action tile and they have to walk to other action tiles, which might be full of plague and fire and things like that. No, sorry, plague, and then you have to resolve the plague using fire. And just like all of his other games, there's like sort of incredible ways to build up your player area, sort of improvement and new skills and passive abilities and all this kind of stuff. And you got a little wheel here as well that you spin to determine where the plague goes. And actually, incredible player aids as well. The round structure would be an absolute nightmare if it weren't for these incredible player aids that just nail it. So that was really good. But overall, I just found the game didn't quite do it for me. I don't know if it was a lack of player interaction, or if it was maybe that you couldn't quite reach the sort of the heights of the combos, or something about it. No, it felt like even though the game has a lot going on and gives a lot of benefits, it just never quite sort of reached. I just felt like I never got to the sort of the end point on enough of the things I was trying to do in it. Unlike Praga, where, you know, usually you feel like you get to the end of the one thing you're trying to do at least. And then there was Woodcraft, which came out at Essen last year. I picked up a copy. I've played this a couple of times since. I played it at 3, I played it at 2. I didn't get a review copy of this, but Delicious Games did give me a nice press discount. So, full disclosure, they did that. And this is a co-design with Ross Arnold, and I think you see that influence most in how sort of the theme comes out, because this is a game about woodcraft, and it's got these dice here, and the dice are never, maybe they are rolled, I can't remember, but they're not really rolled. They might be rolled to determine an initial number, and they never rolled again. But what you do is you can like glue them together so the numbers become 1, and then you can saw them in half, so you get a 5 becomes a 2 and a 3, and it's just really sort of nice and thematic. So that's really nice. And Woodcraft, again, it's sort of contract fulfillment, and it is again a sort of a really upgradable player board. Lots and lots of sort of things to escalate and do, but the player interact, and then there's this action wheel as well. I wish I could find a photo of it. Well, it's here, but it's hard to see. But players are taking spots on this action wheel and then getting sort of benefits around the outside based on oh, we can zoom in big. Yeah, so you take one of these spots, and then there's these bonuses around the outside. I don't think this has been set up correctly, and this middle one's going to sort of determine the current round by moving around the wheel here and unlocking these pieces, these areas. And so if you're taking older actions where people have mostly used them up, you'll get better benefits and stuff. So it's sort of interesting action selection system. Then there's a track down here, of course, because it's a Euro track, which is just points and benefits as you advance up it. And then you've got a player area where you can sort of do upgrades. And thanks to @Mayen Vienna for that photo. But yeah, anyway. Woodcraft was decent, but all the player interaction is pretty much in taking the spot on that wheel, and you drafted the thing I wanted. So not quite enough for me. And, you know, I guess you don't really look at Suki's games for player interaction, but Pulsar, which is sort of his, I think probably the one that's done the best, has that sort of really nice thing where you're, and this is a photo from @FTStudent, where you are, oh, unfortunately we can't zoom in any more than this. There's one of the boards. This is from @HankRollerman. Yeah, where you're sort of moving around and you're colonizing these planets, and that has effects, and you're grabbing these zones here with your spaceship, and that's... So there's some nice sort of territory capturing elements going on this board, which just spice up the interaction in a way that I think is really nice, that you don't see in many of his other games. Anywho... Evacuation is his new one. And so his third game, Shipyard, is also getting a second edition at Essen this year. I can talk about that in a minute, a little bit. But Evacuation, basically what's going on in this is this is the planet, it's dying, and you got to pick up all your factories and move them onto the new planet. And so there's this whole sort of resource management system where you've got this player board over here. And I'm probably not going to go into as much detail as Chris did, just because I got a lot to cover, and we don't have a whole lot of time. But you've effectively got the two planets here, the dying planet on this side and the positive planet on this side. And you're functionally sort of, what it seems like is you're functionally managing sort of two engines and two economies that just sort of vaguely overlap across these ships that you're sending from the old world to the new world, right? So you've got your ships down here, and you're filling these full of resources and goods, and then you're taking your pieces off of this planet and moving them onto the next planet. And then the ship comes back empty, and then you've got to fill it up again. So you can only it gets harder and harder, I think, to fill up the ship as your resources on this planet diminish, and then you have to sort of build up situations on the new planet as well to sort of assert your dominance of the other people who are also trying to colonize it. I thought this looked really interesting. I find that Vladimir Suki's games very often for me, because I find them quite solitary typically, they do very often fall just slightly on the wrong side of heavy and not enough player interaction, or interesting sort of player interactions. But occasionally the combo building and stuff is nice. I really like it, so... I'm a big fan of... So I really liked Prague and Pulsar, and I really like Last Will as well, although that's slightly different. So yeah, keen to see this one. It looks a bit... it looks interesting, it looks a bit different. Keen to see how that works. I really like the idea that we're picking up these pieces off of the old world, and they want to go to specific areas of the new world, and so we're going to be jockeying for space on this planet as well. And also there's a sort of a race element as well. It's a 4-round game. It ends for sure after 4 rounds, but there's also conditions that can end the game early as well. I suppose my concern would be the downtime problem of underwater cities. If we're building big tableaus and things like that, and you can see there's a set of cards. So we're definitely doing some card upgrades and buildings and things. I might be a little concerned about that. There's also kind of an interesting action selection system where you're taking these cards over here, the red play button cards, and you're sliding them into these 4 slots under your player board, which have all the actions in the game on them. And you can slide, and then as you take more actions on your turn, you have to start paying energy. So you go all the way up to 6 or more actions, but you have to pay energy every time. But if you also have 3 cards or over 3 cards, so 4 or more in the same slot on your player board, it has additional energy costs. So that's interesting. So there's a sort of economy to managing your actions as well. That looks quite nice. So keen to check that out. Then it's White Castle, which we've already covered, Nucleum, which we've already covered, Kutnahora, which we've already covered. From the Moon, I looked at as well. I read the rulebook for this, and I've not put it in my notes. Can't remember what I thought about this. I think this was like the first rulebook I read. This is a nice photo from @Dapusen. Nope, I remember basically nothing, even though I read the rulebook. I read a lot of rulebooks. I read a lot of rulebooks in the weeks coming up to Essen. So I'm not going to talk about this just in case I get it wrong. But this is another evacuation game. You're also evacuating a planet, and you're amassing resources in these spaceships to do it. If I remember correctly, the game ends after a set number of rounds, and I was kind of hoping it'd be like a race to get off of Earth before it's destroyed. And there's points that break the ties. Sorry, I'm just talking to myself now. Let's move on, because I don't remember the rules for this one very well. Three-Ring Circus. This one I'm keen to talk about. This is Fabio Lupiano's new game. It's also published by Devere, and I like Fabio Lupiano. So in this game, you're running a circus, you're building a circus, and it's sort of like set collection, contract fulfillment with a nice sort of area control element going on as well, which appeals to me. So you've got... is there a player board here somewhere? This is... Yeah, so sort of. No, this is the card marketplace. But this is at Sergey NS, and these are the entertainers that you're going to be hiring to work in your circus as you travel around the board. And you're basically going to be collecting sets of cards so that when you get to these little towns on the board, so this is someone else's circus. You start with these little tokens here. This is all from Dr. Meeple, the same contributor here. So there's the board there. Yeah, and you can see the player boards here, where you're going to be effectively setting up your rows of cards, and you're going to have to pay to add cards to the rows because you have to pay to hire the performers and the animals and all that sort of stuff. And then you're going to be traveling around this board here and sort of delivering these sets in these performances in the 3 different kinds of cities. And you've got small ones, medium ones, and big ones. And then what they want is going to be different depending on where they are and what size they are. The little ones are mostly, I think, about getting money. They let you generate more income. Whereas the medium ones can get you some nice points depending on where you land on this track. And then the big ones, there's a big points bonanza if you fulfill this requirement correctly. So this one wants like a 12 or more in the center, surrounded by any number of turquoise or yellow card. So you can see here we don't actually have any turquoise cards out, but we've got our yellow ones up here and our purple ones over here. So you want to build that up in your row to try and meet this condition. And then there's going to be this big circus cart here, which is the game timer. And when it makes a complete circle of the board, the game is over. And as it visits the territories, it's going to check to see who's done the most performances in those territories and award them more points, which is a system I always really like. I like it in Feld's New York game, which travels around the board and assesses them. I like it in El Grande, which assesses the provinces as you go through the turn structure. So I just like it generally where there's sort of area control or area majority that's being assessed on a timer, and everyone's racing to sort of get into there in time, or maybe plan ahead and sort of jump to the next thing because they're like, I can't go in there now, I'm going to lose it anyway. So it's just a nice sort of thing. Fabio Lupiano, I really like Kalimala, and I really like Autobahn. I quite like Autobahn. Autobahn's quite good. Kalimala's really quite interesting. It's a shame it's out of print, although I think they're kickstarting a new copy of it next year, so keep your eyes peeled for that. I was not massively impressed with Ragusa or Merv, but that's fine. I have not played Zapotec. Yeah, so, oh yeah, look, there you go, Kalimala, 2nd edition, Kickstarter. Ooh, what is that about? Anyway, that's, so that is 3-Ring Circus. Quite hyped to check that out. So World Wonders is from Arcade Wonders. This is a game designed by Z Mendes, who did Imperial Brazil. And this is a polyomino game where you're drafting tiles from a marketplace and putting them on your board. And what's sort of interesting about this, other than the delightful little wooden wonder pieces. This is a photo from @Vladnov. Sorry, I'm just trying to find a good one that shows the sort of the game setup. Here we go. This is from @BP Symington. Now, this game was already available at Gamma, so this is not an Essen release, but it's not been available in the UK yet. But you've got your resource track here, and this is and population track as well. So you're going to be buying tiles from a marketplace, and they've all got different costs, and then you've got to lay them out and connect them with these roads. So you can see you've got these grey roads here that connecting them up, and then you've got these wooden wonders that need special conditions to use. And what's kind of interesting about it is that you've got, this looks like it might be the solo mode, because I don't recognize this side of the board actually. See how 8 and 9 are blocked off. In the main game, this is open, and what you can do is you can spend 7 gold per round on tiles or actions that allow you to, say, become first player. And you can go up to 8 and 9, but if you do, you have to take a loan that you have to pay off later. So I like loan mechanisms, you know. I'm always the one that plays brass and takes too many loans, and everyone's like, "What are you doing?" And then I come out quite well because, you know, there's taking loads of loans is a legit strategy. Yep. So here's another photo from @BP Symington. But yeah, so there's it looks nice, and there's this sort of endgame scoring mechanism as well, where you've got these resource tracks here, and you're going to get points equal to your lowest. So you're trying to sort of balance out your civilization by getting the tiles with the resources on them, and then making sure you've got the right sort of ones. And then if you can get the right sort of then you're keeping them balanced by keeping the sort of the values equal. And then you've also got this system where you can, if you put the right tiles out in the right spots, then you can get these wonders. But what's kind of fun about the wonders is that when you buy one, you have to spend all of your money on it. So like if you want to get it early in the round to make sure you get the one you want, and if you can look at other people's boards and see that they can place the same one that you want, then it becomes like a game of chicken. Like, you know, first person to buy it is going to lose all their remaining gold. So you might want to buy some other stuff. So if you can get a wonder for 1 gold, that's awesome, right? I mean, actually, and it ticks up as you spend it. So technically, if you can get a wonder when you're on like 6, then you'll just go to 7, and that's dirt cheap. Whereas if you buy it while you're on 1, you'll just shoot across to 7 and have nothing left. So I really like that sort of game of chicken for the wonders. I hope that it sort of manifests that way when we play it, because that looks really fun and interesting. So that was World Wonders. There's Barcelona, which I believe has also already come out. I've seen lots of people playing Barcelona. I've got a review copy from Board and Dice that I've been meaning to cover, but I played it once, and I'd like to play it some more before I cover it. So I'm not going to be... So this is more of an honorable mention more than anything. Interesting game. Still making up my mind about it, but it is a heavy Euro game, obviously. It has got a very sort of interactive area presence here, and it's also area presence, interactive sort of board area in the center here, where people are putting out roads and building buildings and all this kind of stuff, which is quite interesting. It looks more interactive than it is actually, but here I mean the sort of the central board looks more like there's going to be more jockeying for territory than there really is. There's not much of that actually, but it's got a sort of a system where you pull these little tokens, which are the citizens. I didn't mean to zoom in on that actually, that you can see. You can't see because chat's in the way. So you got these citizen tokens down here, and this is also the game timer, but you're going to be pulling these out of a bag, and the actions you can take on a turn are based on the tokens that you pull out the bag. So interesting game. Want to play a bit more of it. But already out, not an Essen release, even though people are excited to check it out at Essen. Shipyard 2nd Edition, this is the other Vladimir Suki game. This is going to be too solitary for me. I haven't played it, but I can just kind of tell. There is an action wheel that you're taking actions on, and there's a bit of player interaction here. But functionally what you're doing is you're acquiring these canal tiles that you can kind of see down here. Let's see if I can find a better photo. This one was from Vladimir Suki, the designer. No, that's the only photo. I mean, we could look at the first edition, but I might not recognize it because I didn't look at that. But you've got these, you can see the canal tiles here under the board, and then players have been collecting them. And effectively what you're going to do is you're going to use the actions in the game to buy... Actually, this is not an action wheel at all. What am I talking about? The actions are taken on this little track down here. And then based on where you play in relation to other people, there's going to be additional costs, I think. So it's sort of like, do you want to go further to the right to get the more expensive, better actions, or do you want to play earlier on and just get more affordable actions? From what I understood. But you're effectively building these ships. So you're buying these pieces here, and then you're filling them full of crew members who you can see around this central track here. And you're also filling them full of ship upgrades, which you can see here and here. And then you've got these contracts that you're trying to fulfill here. And then once the ship is sort of all set up and ready to go, you'll calculate its movement, and then it will move along the canal tiles that you've assembled. And they can also split up, so it could go different ways along the canal tiles. And then based on the icons it lands on the canal tiles, the spaces on the tiles will assess the boat. And if the boat is sort of good in certain ways, like it's got a lot of movement or it's got some nice things on it, then you'll be rewarded with points. I mean, when you first trigger the boat, like the boat is complete and it goes on its journey, you get a bunch of points for what you've built, and then you'll get a bunch more points based on the spaces you land on the canal tiles that you've put together. So it's almost like you're sort of planning a route for the boat and then trying to build the nice boat, and everyone's competing for the pieces. So, you know, it looks interesting, but I mean, I do like... I've sort of talked myself into it now. I do like the idea of sort of jockeying for the pieces. I'll grab a demo of this if I can. I'm definitely interested to try it. But I just think like it's probably going to be very sort of heads down, working out your own path and your own ship, and not a whole lot of player interaction. And unfortunately I can't talk about how it's changed from the first edition because I haven't played that. So this is Arborea. This is from Alley Cat Games, and this is from the designer of Barcelona that we just looked at. And it looks absolutely crazy, but it gave me strong. I've got notes here that I'm completely ignoring. It gave me really strong Sulcan vibes, because what you're doing is you're taking these workers you've got, and you've got two different kinds of workers, little ones and big ones. I don't really know what the difference is. I missed that part of the rules. Young ones and elders, they're called. And what you're doing is you're sort of rewilding the world. So you're building an ecology and you're putting out plants and stuff, but you are some kind of spiritual beasts. It looks completely fantasy. I couldn't tell if there was any kind of real world thing going on here, but these are the monsters that you're going to collect. And so these are your workers here, and they're going out onto these tracks, and effectively every time they go onto the track they get pushed along, and so you want to leave them on the track because they'll keep walking up the track, and then when you trigger them off of the track they're going to follow these white paths down the track, and you're going to get the benefits shown in the spaces. So you want to sort of pull them off the track when they're in the right spot for you to get the right benefits. And they allow you to do all kinds of things, but the main thing that I can tell that they're going to allow you to do is draft the little creatures. Arborea, that's exactly right, Difter. Yep, so they're going to let you draft the little creatures from the top here, and they're going to let you get these contract cards, which are sort of ecological requests over here. And then these want certain things, which are going to come from this track here, which the Sulcan-like tracks will let you manipulate. Obviously, the path you come off of doesn't resemble Sulcan at all. I mean, only insofar as Sulcan, has a spot. You come off the spot, get a bunch of benefits, and the longer you stay on the rondel in Sulcan, the more benefits you get. here, the longer you walk along the path, the better the path you can take at the end is, presumably. But what's going to happen is you're also going to be able to move these tokens up this board, and there's kind of like an interesting system where the tokens split apart. So if you don't spend them, then you kind of leave them open for other players to take. Excuse me. You kind of leave them open for other players to take, but the tokens will ratchet up the board, and then you spend them to fulfill the cards I showed you, and then those cards flip over, and they come into your player area, and they have the different ecologies on the back, and then you get the little creatures, and you put them in the ecologies, and that's how you score the points, I think. There's obviously a lot more going on, so this is a very high-level overview. But yeah, it looks interesting. I'll give it a try. I like the sort of concept of this spatial puzzle with the animals that you're putting in. I like the concept of like sort of investment in the tracks. Like, do you wait on the tracks to try and get the most points, or do you pull your worker back now? I hope in Sulcan the way it kind of works is that you have to feed the workers all the time. So like getting more, leaving them on the track becomes painful, because then you want to get more workers so you have more to put out, so you can get some stuff now to help you now, but then you have to feed more of them, or suffer the consequences. So I hope there's some kind of system that going on here that sort of makes you think about how long you're going to leave them on the track. But I really like the artwork. I mean, I'm sure this will be very off-putting to some people. Like I said, the Bitoku boards being quite polarizing, and because it's very busy. And likewise, I think some people will be put off of this board by how busy it is, but I think it's gorgeous. So I'm quite keen to give that a try as well. I realize I'm just kind of... I didn't look at Carrick 2. I know nothing about this. And I don't know why I skipped it. Oh yeah, because we're basically at the end of me going actually straight through the list. There's a few other notable ones here. I wanted to call out Satori, mostly because I've been hearing a lot of buzz about it. So the game is Satori Difter. Morganite says about Arborea, it's gorgeous, but getting my group to try it will be a challenge. Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, like, with heavy Euros, I think, you know, it's, you want to be quite sort of choosy about, like, what you bring to the table, because it is quite a big ask. Like, they're quite expensive to buy, and then there's quite a big time investment to learn them and for people to learn them, and quite often they're better once people play them for a second or third time. So it's a big investment, so you want to make sure it's a good game. And that's where I come in. But Satori, so this is designed by Paco Yanez. It's published by Periloco Games, and the art is by Edu Valls. And the reason I mentioned that is because Edu Valls is, of course, the artist from Bitoku, and you can see on the... I guess they got the memo about the Bitoku board looking a bit too busy for some people, because if you look at the board for... let me see if I can find an actual photo of it. But basically, if you look at the board for this, it's like... well, I mean, you can see in all these photos, but I was hoping for sort of a full one. So this is posted by the publisher, this photo. You can see here that they've it's basically white. The board is white, and then they've just colored the spaces. You know, they're like, Edu, can you tone it down a bit? And he's like, you got it. Tone down. It's white now. So this is a game about placing your workers, your monks out on the board. And the idea is that they are ascending through spiritual Buddhism to a state of enlightenment. So you've got these little monks down here who are visiting these worker placement spots, and then they ascend up here to this top area where they become enlightened monks. And this was one where I read the rule book, and I just read too many, and it's I had a hard time getting a sort of a real sense of the game. What I can tell is that you've got your pieces down here, and you're going to put them out into the shrines and things that you see on the board. So you're going to be building these buildings and spending resources to put the pieces out in the buildings. And there's an element as well where you get the different so you get these different monks, and then you can put them into the shrine. So they're not your workers, sorry, the monks are sort of there, But then when you get the monks and then you put them out into the worker spaces, and certain monks like to go to certain spaces, you can probably not see very clearly at all. Maybe I can find a better photo that illustrates this. But there is... maybe here? Another one from the publisher. Yeah, so you can sort of see here, in this position here, that 2 monks have been added into the placement spots on this shrine. And this is an orange shrine, which you can tell by this flower behind the orange monk. And so when the grey monk came out here, it would have had to pick half the actions to do half the actions, whereas the orange monk gets to do them all. So there's an element of grabbing the right workers so that you can take the full spot that you want. The game lasts a set number of rounds, and then the most points is the winner. And I remember looking up Paco Yanis. What else did I write about this? My notes are quite limited for this. It was clearly the one of the last ones I was looking at, because these are my full notes. So Paco Yanis has done nothing I've played. I haven't played any of his games, unfortunately, so I can't tell you whether they are games I like. But he has got some, so he's not a first-time designer. But yeah, I think I'll try and catch a demo of this and see what's going on. But I don't know, for me it looks kind of like it's very well rated. It looks like a sort of solid Euro, but you never know. Like I said, sometimes you play them and then they sort of come to life in a way you didn't expect. So I'll definitely check this out as well. Sky Team is interesting. That's like a cooperative land the plane game. I was a little wary of this because it looks like a neat idea. So it's 2-player, it's cooperative, and effectively what you've got is this system of dice placement. So 1 player has the orange dice, 1 player has the blue dice, and you've got sort of each round, you've effectively got to guide your play into landing by taking actions here to manage your altitude and your positioning and stuff. And there's all these other planes in the sky that you're trying to avoid hitting, because of course you are. And you're not trying to crash the plane, you're pilot. But the way the round works is that you have sort of like some time at the top of the round to discuss what you think you're going to do and what actions you're going to take, but you're not allowed to discuss, like, you're not allowed to plan around the specific die faces. And the reason for this is because after you're done planning, you then roll all your dice secretly behind a screen, and then you have to execute all the dice placement in silence. So you can sort of make a plan, like, let's try to get these planes off the out of the way, let's try to drop our altitude, let's try to increase our speed. You're not allowed to say, if you get a 2, put it here, right? That's the idea. And so then you roll the dice, you don't know what you're going to get, and then you're going to try to execute your plan as best you can within the limitations of the dice roll you've received, and your collaborator cannot see the dice that you've rolled. So that sounds very exciting. It sounds... The one thing that sort of made me a little wary is that games with communication restrictions, unless they're very explicit, tend to get sort of pushed up against. Players tend to wind up breaking those rules. Yeah, I can see Michael being very stressed with this game. Yeah, exactly. Because he likes collaborative games, but he likes to make sure that everyone's happy with what's going on. And if he has to sort of, support the team but can't discuss his plans, that stresses him out. So yeah, obviously executing all the actions in complete silence, that would be stressful for him. But I think that's the idea, right? Like you're flying a plane. But it's not like on fire. Like it's just a passenger plane. So I don't know what kind of plane we're flying here where half of the time we can't talk to each other. Like, I'm pretty sure on an actual commercial airline, the pilot and the co-pilot can talk throughout. Maybe this is actually justified in the rulebook. I didn't read all the fluff. Maybe there's a communication breakdown. Maybe there's a storm that's interfering with the radios. I don't know if they try to justify it, or if they're just like, nope, half the flight you're mute because I guess you're sleepy and you don't want to talk. Or maybe you've had a falling out. Maybe you just found out the co-pilot slept with your partner and you're sad. I don't know. You don't want to talk to them anymore. But yeah, so I mean, interesting. Definitely keen to go and get a demo of it. But I think that it's different. I like games where it sort of puts restrictions on the players. I like it when it puts physical restrictions on the player, like now you have to play with a hand on your head, or your eyes closed, or you can't talk. I like all of that. That's fun. But I do think that the communication restrictions at the start might not be explicit enough. I mean, they're fairly explicit, but I don't know. Sometimes I'd have to play it and find out. But I'm always a bit wary of communication restrictions. I like it when the communication restriction is like, you can only say yes, no, and maybe. You know, that's the kind of restriction I like. Because that's very explicit. Yes, no, and maybe. That's all you can say, and that's it. So I looked at SkyTeam. Voidfall is here. I mean, that's already with Kickstarter backers. I have my copy of Voidfall. I've played it once. Obviously, this is Mind Clash Games, Nigel Buckle and David Searcy. Big 4X exploration game. Very heavy rule set, but actually surprisingly streamlined once you play it. Like, if I'll say anything about the designs I've played by these two designers, which is this and the Imperium games, very, very, very streamlined. Like, deceptively complex, right? Like, they look very complex, they're dense to learn, and then once you start playing them, the flow is just really elegant. So, credit to these two designers. This is a render, this isn't even what the final game looks like. Do we have a photo? So this photo is from the publisher. Here's a photo of the actual game, which is from @MeepleSprinkles. Yep, so you get these different kinds of spaceships, and it's 4X. This is the non-deluxe version of the game. What you're doing is you're conquering sectors of space, and you are putting out these little tokens in the sectors of space, which are like farms and things, and generating resources. But the actual flow of the game is every turn you're picking. So this is another one from MeepleSprinkles, which is someone else who works for the pub. I don't actually... No, this is someone else who works for the publisher. Mind Clash. So you've got these action cards, and on your turn you play one of the action cards, and then each action card has 3 actions on it, and you get to take 2 of the actions, unless you have an unused trade token, and then you can take all 3 actions by discarding the trade token. Anyway, the point is, like, the actions and the iconography, is it Ian O'Toole? I want to say it's Ian O'Toole. I feel it is Ian O'Toole. Yeah, the iconography is great. It's really, it really gets going once you get going. So this is from Watchtower Men, a photo. So these little cubes down here are the number of ships in the fleet. And then, yeah, they move around space. But what I found with this was that it's 4X, and the action, and I mean, we our first game of it, so it's got like a sort of a recommended. Oh, this photo's from @Nighthawk. So yeah, so you've got these population cubes here, and then this is the deluxe version of the game. You can tell because of the metal tokens here, and also the fancy ships here. But you've got you've got like these population cubes, and you're trying to sort of conquer the areas of space, tick up the population, and then these facilities here will generate more resources based on the population. You're also trying to take out these guys who are called the Void, and thematically everyone's kind of their own race, their own faction in space, and you're going to try to team up to take the Void out, but also you don't really get along, and there's only going to be one winner, and you might kill each other as well. But for a game that had us flying ships around and everything, and one of my friends was playing this is Nighthawk again, was playing a very aggressive faction. We had basically no player interaction the entire time. It was not really... He was being very aggressive, so he earned a lot of glory, which is what you get for winning fights against the Void. And so he was very incentivized to kill the Void. And we were very incentivized to go and kill him because we'd get a take of his glory, but actually it was hard to get to him, and there were more productive actions to do in our own space, so we just never did it. So we all kind of colonized our own separate areas of space and never really interacted. But there's a huge number of scenarios in the box. There's a huge number of factions in the box. I'm keen to play it again. Once the flow gets going, it's very elegant. Nobody's going to win this on their first game if they're playing with people who've played before. So there's a definite skill curve to it. The faction I had was felt quite prescriptive. Like if you read the back of the faction, you get these 2 starting technologies, and then it tells you sort of what you should be focusing on to earn points. And I just focused hard into that. And my friend who was playing very aggressively also did the same thing for his faction. And we had like 210 points each. I think he beat me by a few points, but in a 200 plus point game. It was very, very close. But the reason I'm saying this is that it did feel quite strategically prescriptive. You know, we both just followed the instructions on the mats, just did that thing, hammered it, earned the points, almost tied, right? So from a game that's so big and offers so much sort of complexity in gameplay, I would like to see it. I hope that future plays are a little bit more dynamic, a little bit more flexible, with a little bit more going on. I'm definitely keen to play it with people who've played it before, who know the game quite well. Keen to explore it, but a little worried that it might end up being strategically too prescriptive and not enough player interactions, or not the player interactions that are possible are not incentivized enough. And it just felt like it would be so costly to go and attack my opponent that by the time I've paid the price for that and punished him by attacking him, the other guy's just going to win, or the other player is just going to win. So, you know, very kingmakery, because there's not a lot of sort of rapid ways to react to people. But, you know, it could have just been our novice level with the game. Like I said, it's our first play. We played the full game. There's an introductory thing, and we skipped right over that and just played a full-on scenario. So anyway, I guess this is available to buy, but I've already got my copy, so that's why it's not something that's on my list. But yeah, Voidfall. I mean, if you like sort of Euro stuff, like just straight up sort of Euro action efficiency development stuff, this is definitely going to be in your wheelhouse. But again, I don't know if you might find the strategies too prescriptive. Hegemony, I think I've already talked about. Holy cow, look at that. 80 euros at Essen, or $300 on Amazon. Hegemony's great. It's really cool. It's an extremely high level social game. Game you're playing as the different classes. It really wants to be a 4-player game, although you can play it 3 and take the state out. But 3 different, you can play it 2 as well. But Voidfall was 200 euros, Difter. Is that even the Galactic version? Wow, that's... I don't think I paid that much for my Galactic box. Clearly this is the impact of... I'll be interested to know if that's... I'll be interested to know if that's... I mean, 90 minutes to 4 hours. At least it's honest. I mean, it's sort of honest. It's 4 hours. I don't know who's playing this in 90 minutes. Maybe a short scenario with 2 players who know the rules really well. Yeah, I don't know if that's 200 euros for the retail or for the Galactic box. I don't know if they'll sell the Galactic box or if it was Kickstarter exclusive. No idea. Anyway, Hegemony. Why is this here? This came out... Did this come out this year? But this has been available at retail for a while, right? I mean, I think you could buy this at UKG. So I don't know why I'm talking about this. If you want to know more about Hegemony, you can find out on my Patreon. Didn't I write an article about it? Please tell me I wrote an article about it on the Patreon in one of my updates. I think I did. I'm pretty sure I did. Or maybe I talked about it in one of the live Patreon streams. Anyway, for $1, you have access to all of that material. And if you can contribute more, that would be awesome, because That's my preferred way to fund the show and keep this content editorial and liberated. And Ditcher's like, don't put me on the spot. Don't worry, buddy. I'm sure I talked about Hegemony on the Patreon content somewhere. But yeah, Hegemony it's a heavy game. It's a very asymmetrical game. You're playing as 3 different classes: the working class, the capital class, and the labor class. And then there's also a state. Someone's playing as the state. They're all asymmetrical. Although, sorry, it's the working class, the middle class, and the capital class. The middle class is kind of actually a hybrid of the working class and the capital class in the game, but you're putting out... this is a photo from at Raskosian. So you're putting out buildings, and people are going to get jobs in these buildings and producing resources for the people that own the buildings. And the working class is trying to sort of develop themselves. So they're trying to amass education and luxury goods and things like that. The middle class are trying to do basically the same thing, but they also want to amass money and wealth. And then they also want to build their buildings. And then the capital class only care about amassing money, and they have a whole system for sort of investing this money and just generating endless money. Dark Mind says there's going to be an expansion at Essen, I think. Well, there was already a mini expansion called Crisis and Control, which came with the Kickstarter. I don't know if there'll be another expansion. But we can certainly have a Google. I'll come over here so that I don't accidentally reveal something on Google that I don't want to live on the internet. Hegemony expansion. Historical Events is a special deck. There is an event deck in the game that affects the game as you go, and the Historical Events replaces that deck with actual real things that happened. Oh, Historical Events. Okay, so yeah, so Historical Events came with the Kickstarter, so I've got both Crisis and Control and Historical Events already. But if you haven't got them, you can pick them up there. The Historical Events deck is actual real historical events to replace the event cards. It's nice and interesting. But yeah, I mean, what I like about Hegemony is that there's a lot of sort of player interaction. You have to work really hard with everybody to sort of balance the power of things. Like as the working class, you can go to work for the middle class, you can go to work for the capital class, and you're trying to influence the state to sort of side with your policies. The state's a bit unpredictable and anarchic, but it's trying not to go bankrupt unless the capital class is really losing hard, and then the state can go bankrupt, and that really benefits the capital class as they snap up all the state's assets. It's interesting. It's got really interesting player dynamics, and the turns are super clip. Like on your turn, you just like play a card and do a thing and move on. So it's really nice. Yeah, you have to make and break alliances. Absolutely, huge amount of sort of player influence over what's going on at the table, and you can't be precious about like abandoning your allegiance with somebody. But some people really like that. I really like that. Some people find that very off-putting. So fair enough. But Hegemony, yeah, really cool. So you can check that out at Essen. Nikojima looks super cute. I'm probably going to have to wrap this up soon. I'm going to jump to a few specific outliers. And Jerusalem Anno Domini, oh god, I'm sorry, I forgot to... Here we go. I'm just scrolling down the list. I got a copy of at UKG from Thames Cosmos again. And Bamboo as well, actually. Oh, Forest Shuffle. That's an interesting one as well. Damn, I've got too many games I've played, and I don't have enough time to talk about them. So Nikojima, this is one I looked at because I just love dexterity games. This is basically Jenga with cats. I think it might be too simple. I'm a little concerned there's not enough going on here. But basically the whole game is just you go into a bag, or you roll these 2 dice, and these 2 dice here are going to give you 2 of the sections on the board at the bottom, and then you're going to go into a bag and pull out a cube, and the cube is going to be green, white, red, or black. And if it's blue, white, red, or black, and if it's blue, white, or red, then you're going to take the poles that are tied together, and you're going to put them into the 2 sections you rolled on the dice, and you're going to put them in such a way that they don't knock over anything or touch anything else, right? If you pull a black cube, then you have to hang a cat from one of the wires. And that's it. And people just take turns rolling dice and pulling cubes, placing wooden ropes and cats until someone knocks the whole thing over and loses. It's cats, looks a bit unique. I like toys. I'm a little worried that we'd play this like 2 or 3 times and be like, that's a fun novelty, and it would wear off. There's also a collaborative mode where you're just trying, but it's basically the same, right? The collaborative mode is the same as the competitive mode, except instead of the person who knocks it over loses, when somebody knocks it over, you all lose. And that's like the only difference, as far as I can tell. Then again, there are some tokens at the back here, and I don't know what they're for. And I also don't know what this track here is for. So maybe they're the track that's hidden behind chat. Oh yeah, I know Dark Mind. It looks so nice. It's a beautiful production. And the company advertised all of, so this was on Kickstarter. It's a Japanese-made game. And it was advertised all over Kickstarter that it was all FSC compliant recycled wood and recycled components, which I'm a big fan of. I'm a little worried about how much plastic shit we have in board gaming. So, whenever I see people make an effort like that, I'm filled with admiration, very grateful to them for making that effort. I don't know how good FSC is as a credential. I hope it's good. It sounds good. I like that they've made the effort to use recycled wood and all recycled components and things. That's really nice. So I'll go and check this out if I have time. It does look really pretty and cute. Right. We are running out of the... There's going to be Fox Experiment, which is the new Elizabeth Hardgrave game. Pandasaurus published it. It's about breeding foxes. That's about all I know. I did back it on Kickstarter because Leanne, my partner, is a big fan of Wingspan. I've kind of outgrown Wingspan a bit. I'm kind of done with it, but she likes to play it and she wants to keep playing it, so I can probably persuade her to play this one too. Sometimes that's more important. Right, so yeah, I recently myself haven't had a chance to play my copy from UKG. Dark Mind says a friend is going to get me Witchcraft. Yeah, I had a look at Witchcraft. I mean, I've got, so I mean, obviously it's Trevor Benjamin, Roger Tankersley, and David Thompson, all of which are great. You know, they've all worked together in various formats on. They did the Sniper Elite game. They've done the Undaunted stuff. David Thompson's done the solo games as well, and of course they did Resist, which I played solo on the show. If you want to go check that out, which is the game about you're the Spanish resistance during the Franco's regime in Spain. But Witchcraft is another one they did. I've not had a chance to play it. I really had a chance to look at it. I'd probably be more interested in this if I liked solo gaming more. I mostly do solo gaming on the show, and that's about it. Occasionally I play it on my own to learn it for the show, and I know a solo game is good when I'm playing the solo mode to learn it for the show, and I keep playing it on my own because I want to. Yeah, I think I think Resist was great. I really liked Resist. Nothing but compliments for Resist, and I suspect Witchcraft will be excellent as well, although it looks a bit less serious in terms of theme than Resist is of course a very serious game, Resist. I don't know what Penguin Airlines is, so we're just going to skip ahead to stuff I know about. Forest Shuffle is an interesting one, because Barry from the show, he asked me to get him a copy of Forest Shuffle, and he was really keen for it, and it's on BGA, so we played it. Not with Barry, I played it with other friends. Yes, I have some other friends who are not on the show. But it's a tableau builder, and what it does that's quite interesting is you're getting these cards. Oh, sorry, this photo is from at Kulkachan. I don't know. I don't know if this is like not out yet or what, but anyway, there's a deck of like 160 cards here, and then you've got these trees, and you've got a handful of animals and trees, and the animal cards are all two halves. So they're either top and bottom, like you can see this bird and this moss here. That would be the top half of a card, and that would be the bottom half of a card, or they're left and right. Like you can see the fox and the rabbit here are the left and right sides of a card. And on your turn, you can either, I can't remember exactly what the rule is. It's like you can either pick up two cards or you can pay a card and play for it. Yeah, and Dark Mind, I was really excited about this sort of tableau system when I saw it. The other thing I really liked about it was that when you pay for something, all the cards go in the middle here. And so on your turn, if you choose to pick up cards, you can blind draw from the deck, which is also the game timer. There's 3 winter cards shuffled into the bottom. When all 3 come out, the game is over. But if you don't blind draw from the deck, you can pick up what other people have spent. So you're looking to see what other people are putting out there, and do they need them? Is this going to complete their tableau? Do not discard the things they need, unless the thing that you're discarding is the 10th card, because when you discard the 10th card, it resets the entire discard area, and now nobody can have it. So you're sort of looking to tactically discard things when you play them, when you pay for them. That was all great. I really liked that. The art, really liked that. But try it on BGA Darkmind, because my big caveat here is that we found the scoring to be wildly off. Like, the things that were very difficult to do didn't feel well rewarded enough. The stuff that was, I mean, and actually, do you know what? Actually, this has been colored slightly. Let me caveat it. Not wildly off. There was the scoring seemed peculiar, and it didn't feel quite right. And then one of our friends absolutely destroyed our scores. Like, there was 3 of us playing, 2 of us got roughly the same sort of score. And I don't know whether we should have, like, if that was balanced or not. It probably was. We both seem to have sort of similar combos going on. But our other friend built a combo of, I think it's deer and wolves, and just ruined our scores. And then we looked it up online, and everybody in the forums is complaining about the deer and wolf thing being absolutely broken. So that's a real bummer, because that was like literally our first experience of the game, and that happened. And it's a shame, because otherwise this seems really cool and really nice. And if it wasn't for that broken combo, and I say broken combo, it's like effectively what it is that if there's lots of different combos, lots of different opportunities. You do have to lean into comboing things. It's a tableau builder. You can't just do a little bit of everything, because everything becomes exponentially more rewarding. And so the deer and wolf thing is exponentially more rewarding. But basically, in a 3-player game, you can't both ignore it. Like, somebody has to be hate drafting deer and wolves to stop the person who's trying to build that combo. And ideally, both of you are trying to stop them. And so in a 2-player game, if you're not both doing the deer and wolf combo, whoever's not doing it is going to lose, right? Or has to be so careful to tactically discard them when they're going to reset the marketplace, or the offering in the middle. So it's just kind of a bummer. So definitely try it on BGA. But I think that combo seems way too strong, and effectively, to play the game competitively, you need to be aware of it, and you need to know you have to do something about it, which is kind of a shame, because there seems like lots of other interesting things that you could be doing. Like, all of the trees have combos on them. You can collect the trees, you can collect the butterflies. There's all these icons that trigger other icons. And what's wild about the wolves and the deers is that they've all got really expensive costs. So it's like, it's a really profitable combo if you can pay the cost. But all of them have bonus actions on. So if you pay the cost, then you just get a huge rebate anyway. So it kind of offsets the high cost. So it doesn't feel like it's actually that difficult. And like, the friend who played those cards did not play any fewer cards than the rest of us who were playing much cheaper cards. So it also, a lot of the offset cost actually let you cycle the deck really quickly. So, like, while we were still sort of drawing 1 or 2 cards at a time, this person was, like, drawing 3 and then discarding 2. So they were able to audit the cards very effectively to find what they needed. And so that made stopping them harder. So that was kind of a bummer. But yeah, so much potential. Right. Bamboo, I got a copy of this at UKG. It's not an Essen game, it was at UKG. I've played it once. I quite liked it. I'd like to play it again. It's one of the Devere little box heavy game sets. This is a very sort of solo-y game. very little player interaction. It's just drafting from collective marketplaces. So you took the thing I want, player interaction, and you're just filling a house full of nice things. You're decorating a house, so you're getting nice things to put into the house, and you've got lots of contracts and things and objectives that are making you put the stuff in the house in a specific way. It's nice. I didn't light my world on fire, and I wouldn't necessarily recommend running out to buy it, but certainly play it if you get the chance. I mean, it's only 30 euros as well, and it feels like a heavyweight game. Like, that's the thing that's wild about these. These little games really remind you that, you know, for a small cost and a tiny amount of space and a small table presence, you can have an enormous amount of game. Like, and there's a really interesting action mechanism here where on your turn you get these bamboo shoots on your player board that you can see at the back here, and I'll credit the artist of this photograph in a minute, but you basically trigger one of these colored temples here, and you've got 3 of them. The red one's already been triggered. So you trigger the blue temple, and then you get to do all the blue actions, and then you take the blue bamboo shoots and you put them into the bottom of these columns, and then the stuff they push off the top you then collect and add back into your temples. Yeah, it's got a lot of sort of interesting little mechanisms going on here, and then you're also offering incense to these different yokai spirits over here, and you get to collect them. It's Japanese themed, but it's all about feng shui and making a nice house. This is your house on your player board, which you can't see because my face is in the way. So this is your house here, and you're basically getting these decoration tiles from this marketplace here, and you're putting them out in the house, and then you're getting these contracts from this marketplace here, putting them up here, and trying to fulfill the right configurations in the house tableau in order to earn the most points. Yeah, nice little game. Definitely recommend trying it if you get the chance. And if you want a heavier game and you're short in space and you're looking for something budget, like, it's kind of hard not to recommend these, honestly, just because they're so small and they're so cheap and they're just reasonably dense, you know? I was actually a lot more positive about that than I thought I was going to be. All right, after us. I glanced at that at UKG, but I didn't really look into it any further because it looked like very, very solitary tableau building. That's about all I know about it. Chris covered Imperial Miners. Rats of Wistar, I want to look into more because it's got Luciani's name on it. I don't know who this person is. Anuaki, the co-designer of Anuaki. Which I think they've got Anuaki for sale at Essen as well, which is annoying because I kickstarted it and I haven't got my copy yet, but that's fine, I'll just wait. I'm very excited for that. I hope it's good. Rats of Wistar, I don't know anything about. Events, variable setup, worker placement. Well, I'll go and try it. Let me see. I've got notes on a few more here that I haven't covered. I think just one more. No, two more. We'll do this one first, and then we're going to call it a day, and that's it. This looks great. I know nothing about it. Stefano da Silva. Why do I recognize that name? I shouldn't. You've only designed this one game. I like the box art. All right. Why can't we find this? All right, we'll just have to scroll until we get there. City of the Great Machine was out at UKG as well, but I'd be keen to go and try and get a demo of that because it looked really cool. Amon-Ra I've already got. This has been on sale for a while, but it's a really nice reprinting. It's really good. It's taken what was a difficult game to manage and turned it into something that's quite accessible, quite excellent. Darwin's Journey is great. I did a review of that. You've seen it, I'm sure, because you watch all my stuff. But yeah, Darwin's Journey is great. Check out the review if you want to know more. Where's this game I'm looking for? I mean, a lot of these ones I'm looking at here are... I'm kind of keen to check out the Artemis Odyssey, just because it's got Bruno Faiducci's name on it. And Grand Gamers Guild, they tend to produce quite nice looking games. They did Endeavor. Hamlet's been out for a while. Nar. Nar is already out. It's in retail. This is on BGA. You can go and try it. Nar is a sort of set collection drafting game. This is a photo from M Hag, and everyone's got a little player board like this. Down here, and then you've got a set of Vikings like this. So you can see the green player here has a red set, a yellow set, and a purple set. And then on your turn, you have a hand of these Viking cards as well, and you play one into your set, and then you unlock all the bonuses above the set, and then you also get to take the card from the color you played. So if you played a red card here, you would get this green benefit, you get the blue benefit, and then you'd also get this green card into your hand. So you get sort of whatever's out here, and then that marketplace is refreshed. And what you're trying to do basically is sort of build up this combo down here in your player area. I realized you couldn't see my token the entire time, but my cursor, but I assume it's fairly clear what I was talking about. But you're trying to, oh, sorry chat, you're gonna have to hide for a minute. You're building up this sort of tableau, trying to trigger these columns as you play the colored cards into them to get the benefits, but ultimately, eventually, you have to trade them in to claim these lands up here. So you've got these lands that you're going to go explore, and you trade in the card sets that are shown in the top. So the bottom row is cheaper, top row is more expensive, top row is worth victory points, whereas the bottom row is worth typically in-game benefits and things. But in addition to being worth these things when you buy them, they get to slot here into your player board, and you can see that they develop these three columns that will evolve, escalate upwards. And you've got here on this yellow card the luxury good, the money or the band, the jewelry, and that's you've got space for 3 of those. And you can spend on your turn, you can spend those to trigger the rows. So if you spend 1, you get the first row. If you spend 2, you get the second, both the first and second row. If you spend all 3, you get all 3 rows. I think that's how it works. Might be wrong, slightly wrong about that. Can't remember. Maybe you need 2 and then you get 2. I don't know. Anyway, the point is you trigger the rows and then you get all the benefits in all the columns. Or you trigger the columns, sorry, and you get the benefits in the columns by paying that resource. In addition, when you get the green benefit, that gives you these Viking helmets, and they just count as Vikings. So when you buy these lands, you can trade in those helmets instead of sacrificing the cards in your tableau. If you have to pay like more cards than you've got, less cards than you've got, like you've got 3 reds and you have to pay 2, you can choose which 2 to give up. And also you get the blue resource, which is like the prestige track here in the middle of the player board, and this has these victory point symbols on it, and if you pass one of these symbols, you've now got a victory point income you're going to get at the beginning of your turn. And this is important because it's first to like 30 points and then they just immediately win. I really liked this game, or maybe it's 35, I don't know, first to a certain set of points and then you just straight up win. I really like this game. I mean, it is a little too solitary for me. There's very little player interaction. You don't really, the only player interaction is you took the card I want from here or here, and also how far up this blue track are you going. I kind of need to keep up with you because otherwise your points income is going to be so high you're going to end the game and I'm not going to have any. But yeah, I did like Nar. It's short, it's fillery, the art's nice. Check it out on BGA. It's cheap to buy. Fit to Print, I really want to play. I haven't had a chance to play it yet, but it looks like sort of all the manic fun of Galaxy Trucker in a much shorter time period. I'm keen to check that out. Station Fall has been out for a while. I've not played it. I've heard mixed reviews about it. I'd be interested in trying it. It's like a sort of everyone's got a hidden role on a ship. Like basically you've all got a secret role, but then there's a ship full of like communal characters, and you're all trying to control the characters to sort of fulfill your secret agenda, and everyone else is trying to guess what your secret agenda is. Sounds great in theory, but the people in my group who played it bounced off it pretty hard. Now they are Eurogamers, so I don't know if it's maybe just not their thing, but I'd be keen to, and I'm keen to check it out, but it makes me a little cautious that I haven't like seen loads of posts since it came out of people going nuts for it. So that's just general groupthink, I guess. General orders, love to check that out. Where is the game that was like, Valbara? That's not new. That's been out for ages. Sort of a nice streamlined version of Citadels. Europa Universalis. You know, where you can check out a full playthrough of that. And also Castles of Burgundy, where you can check out a very incorrect playthrough of that. Cathedral of Orleans is a little 2-player cooperative version of Orleans. That looks cute, but I don't know. It didn't set my world on fire. Oh my god, how come I can't find this thing I'm looking for? Challengers, we played the first edition of that. Don't feel the need for more challengers. It's nice. It's very hard to get to the table. It really wants like 6 or more players. And people have to be prepared to sort of get up and move around the table, which is fine. If people aren't prepared to do that, then are you not here to have fun? But also, like, it's a very light game. And I don't know if it needs more stuff. But it is a fun, it's a little bit different, a little bit interesting. Very, very light deck building. You just do a tiny bit of deck building, and then you just flip cards over to see who built the best deck. With almost no, I think all the conflicts in it are automated. I don't think you actually have any decision making in that space. Huang, I would be surprised if it's for sale. I backed it on Kickstarter. It is the reprint of Yellow and Yancey. Which is of course a derivative of Tigris and Euphrates. All of them are good. Senjutsu has delivered to Kickstarter backers. I've got a review copy straight from Stoneblade Entertainment. Big thanks to them for sending me the review copy. I haven't had a chance to play it yet. The art project, one of you mentioned that. We can have a look at that in a minute, but that's not... Why can't I find this game? I was interested in Yunnan too. Oh my god. I'm just gonna find it. Tiwanaku is not an Essen exclusive. Mystera is maps, and Mystera, that's from them. This is on BGA. I don't know anything about it, but you can check it out there. If you were interested in trying it. Earthborn Rangers, very excited for that. I'm very lucky that we met Andrew Navarro at UKGE, and he's sending me a review copy of it, which I'm super hyped for. He was really nice, actually. So I really hope I like the game and I can be nice about it. I really liked what I played, so I'm feeling positive. Sunrise Lane, this is what I'm looking for. So this is a re-implementation of Rondo from Rainer Knizia. So I just have to mention this because I really like Rainer Knizia's Difter, you don't have to earmark all of these games. I've just been sort of listing through. Maybe only earmark the ones that I've sort of... You can sort of put like light overviews at the end for this part. Only earmark the ones where we actually went into any kind of meaningful detail, I think. It's very good of you to do that. But Rondo is an older game. It's basically like... So we've been playing a lot of Babylonia recently, which is another Rainer Knizia tile-laying game. He's made lots of them. They're all pretty good. I actually still really like Blue Lagoon that we covered on the show, even though it doesn't get much love. Through the Desert's great. Ingenious is great. Hey, Dark Mind. Thanks for hanging out, and have a good sleep. So Sunrise Lane is basically Rondo re-implemented. And it looks like they've added some extra rules. I'm not sure. So this is a photo from the publisher. But basically, the way Rondo worked is you draw tiles, and then you put the tiles out on these tracks. And you need to get like sets of matching tiles to the tracks, if I remember correctly. Now it looks like in this the tiles have been replaced with a deck of cards, and the cards match the buildings, and then the building colors have different objectives on. So you're sort of set collecting cards to play the buildings out. And provided you get a good set of cards, you can play them sort of all at once, and you can also ditch them face down to like skip spaces. So that's about all I know about it, really. You're doing a spatial puzzle effectively with different objectives on it, and then your turn is either like play a hand of cards to earn the points and the benefits, or pick up 2 cards. So it's like, do I delay to try and collect the perfect hand, knowing someone might go into where I want to go, and I guess block me? Obviously, it looks like the buildings are built up, so I don't know how the blocking might work in this version of the game. But any kind of Reiner Knizia tile laying game I'm excited about. I'm definitely keen to check this one out. So that's cool. Right, what is this? So this is the designer of After Us. I haven't played any of these games. Sadly, no. I've not played any of these games. Co-designed by Benoit Turpin. So that was Florian Cyrex. This is Benoit Turpin. The game is Art Project, art by Vincent Dutrait, publisher Lumberjack Studios. Welcome to. Well, I've played Welcome to. I'm playing through Welcome to the Moon at the moment. I haven't played Welcome to Las Vegas. Chris said it was his least favorite. Welcome to. I don't really like roll and writes. You know, I've already said that I'm a fan of player interaction, and roll and writes tend to have far too little for me. I do quite like Welcome to. I think it's a compelling puzzle, and it's good. I mean, it is still very much independent solo play, but it does feel a bit like a race. And I like how it's sort of a race. I like how Welcome to, at least Welcome to the Moon is like this. I haven't played Welcome to in a while because we've been playing Welcome to the Moon, but I like how it's always kind of like a race to like not to be the last one to screw up at the end, because like there's the 3 wind conditions, right? You do the 3 objectives, or you complete all of the houses, or you screw up 3 times. And I find our games often end with like someone screwing up 3 times, and so you're all just trying not to be the one that screws up 3 times. But okay, so that's 2 designers with some pedigree. Art Project. I know nothing about this, but Vincent Dutrait's art is great. He's probably one of the best artists in board gaming at the moment. I mean, he is one of the best artists in board gaming at the moment. The question is, if we had to rank them, where would he sit? But I'm not going to do that. I like dice. I don't know. Don't know anything about this. Definitely keen to go check it out. And that isn't a photograph from @Rocky4Raccoon. Alright. Oh yes, I do have one more honorable mention. Not honorable mention, one more thing I wanted to show you if I can find it. Almost Innocent. I'd be keen to try that if I didn't have my copy from Kickstarter already. Suspects is a game that Michael and I have quite enjoyed the first episode of, so it looks like there's a new episode. It is three stories in the box, and we did find they got progressively less good, but they were all reasonably enjoyable. Flamme Rouge BMX. Where is it? So as you all know, Hey That's My Fish is the greatest game ever made. I've actually got a custom Hey That's My Fish board that facilitates the setting up and tear down of the tiles, because the setting out the tiles basically took longer than the game takes to play. And now that, I mean, if you look at this, look at that. Imagine putting these out one at a time by hand. So back when we used to play it all the time, I had a special board made which was magnetized, and it had slots for the tiles, so you could put them all in it, and then it had a lid on it, and then you'd flip it over and they'd just be laid out perfectly, and you could just play. I love Hey That's My Fish, and now it's got a new edition. And this new edition, it was Fantasy Flight Games. I don't know why they let it go, but they let it go. And now it's going to be published by Bambus Spielag. Maybe they're doing the German edition. I'm sure they are. Devere? These Fantasy Flight Games here. I don't know. Look, there's a new edition. I'm actually not sure who's published it. Oh, it's got to be on the box. I'm an idiot. Next Move. And what Next Move have very intelligently done is basically take the board I made and just put it in the game. So they've made these lovely new penguin miniatures. You don't get the unique sculpts anymore, which is a shame. So there's 3 iterations of the penguins, right? There was the wooden meeples, which were very cute. They were all the same. Then there was the plastic miniatures from the Fantasy Flight one, where they are color plastic, and they're all different styles. These are someone's homemade ones. Nice photo at MTGFX, but I want a photo of the original miniatures. Here they are, but someone's painted them. This is at RACD. Nice paintwork, sir. So you can see that he's kept the bibs and the colors, but you can see they're all different. And we had names for all of these. Like this is Speedy Penguin and Rage Penguin. This is Drunk Penguin and Greedy Penguin. And so you'd, in like a 4-player game and it's best at 4, you'd only use 2 of them. So it's like, which 2 are you going to pick? So it's a shame they don't have the different sculpts anymore, but these new pieces are really nice looking. And of course you've got this great board, which makes picking up the tiles great, and I hope makes deploying it much easier as well. So basically, new version of Hey That's My Fish that fixed the main issue with the original game. Great. Everyone should have the copy of this game. It's the best. Alright, that's all my honorable mentions. I'm done. I'm going now. But if you want to experience more editorial content and independent board game media stuff, please subscribe to the show so you don't miss our uploads. And also throw a like down on the video. And let us know in the comments down below what you're excited about seeing at Essen. And, you know, if you want to check out the Patreon, that would be absolutely amazing, because that's the preferred way to fund the show, and we are entirely reliant on that, really. I very occasionally do sponsored content, but I'd much rather make content for you, the patrons, and take direction from you guys on what you want to see. Anyway, we'll see you soon, and bye for now, and maybe we'll make some posts from Essen if I remember, but I'm terrible at social media. So maybe it will just go dark for a week. I don't know. I'm doing my best. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. All the credit.